whole thing. But another thing that Dad was, not only loving his brothers, he loved his wife, our mum, so much. And he loved his children. He realised later on in life how much he hadn't been in our lives. And when he was sick in bed, every time we would come up to him, he would always say, I love you, Meko, I love you, Leo, Sulu, Siala, Quinta, Olimpika. And he had a bit of a dementia, but he would always look at you and he would say, oh, wait for you. And I'd go, Dad, it's Meko, or Dad, it's Leo. And he'd go, I love you, Leo. Love you too, Dad. We have to keep this short, but Dad always said, he's taught me that anything is possible through Christ. He's living proof of that. I want to pass it on to the rest of the family who may have things to share with you.
Hi everybody, my name is Serene and I'm Meko's eldest daughter. I've always wanted to do something up here with a packed church, so thank you Grandpa for letting me do this. I hope it works. God is good all the time. Thanks. I'll keep it short and sweet as well, and I'm just happy I had this grandpa as my grandpa. He lived such a full and big life, and he and Nana built such a full and big home for my cousins and our kids to have such a full and big life, and I'm so grateful and honoured for that. My brothers and I lived with Nan and Grandpa for a few years, and for me those were massive years of my life from primary to university, and during that time I'm just grateful for Grandpa and the role model he was through his faith. Nan and Grandpa every single day, every single night had loko, and that's where they taught us Fa'a Samoa and how to read the Bible, or try to read the Bible, and just be more comfortable with the culture and language, and I love Grandpa for that. I love his cheeky and dark sense of humour. I just have one example. When I was 8, I saved up all my pocket money and bought Grandpa this ceramic cross with a baby angel on it. And when I gave it to him, he just laughed and asked what he's meant to do with it. Like, does he hold it on his forehead to keep the demons out? And I was laughing, but I was really crying inside. But that's just Grandpa, and the older I got, the more I appreciated his sense of humour and his cheerfulness and his love of people. He always used to laugh at night when I would say good night to him. So my last words, Grandpa, will be Faiso miti sumalie. Thank you.
Hey everyone, I'm Scott, the oldest son of Meko. I'll keep it short and sweet too. This is kind of my first time up here speaking in church as well, so it's kind of a big thing. But all I gotta say is thank you, Grandpa, for everything you've done in my life. I didn't get much time to tell you how grateful I was for you while you were alive, and I'm just grateful for everything you did for me growing up, and like what Reen said, growing up and then in Grandpa's house from primary right up until high school for me. He did a lot for me and the boys. Picking us up from school, like after every day, taking us to the TAB with him, even though we didn't know what that was, but just the little things like that. That's what I'll always remember with Grandpa, and always spoiling me and the boys, getting whatever we wanted. And yeah, that's what I love most about Grandpa, and supporting me in all my league games when I was younger, back in Tiaratu. I'd always see him parked up in his car, like whether he was there outside or just waiting in his car. It was always good to see his smile like every day, and that's what I miss most. And just seeing everyone here, it really like hits me hard to see how much of an impact he's made on all of us, or what he's done. And yeah, that's what I want to say, is just that I love you, Grandpa, and that we all miss you, and I think of you every day. And thank you for everything you've done for me and my family. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Sean. I'm Scott's younger brother. I just wanted to say I love you, Grandpa, and I'm gonna miss you.
Hey everyone, I'm the youngest. I'm gonna say the shortest speech out of everyone, and we're still in love, Grandpa. Thank you.
I just want to also a bese before we leave. This is a bese, and I hope you can join in because I think I only know the first line. It's one that Grandpa used to always like to sing when he was doing his, his toko at night. Yeo vai o wau savali, whawhetai o mina mai, wa malia le tala ina, loa lofa e o lai, tanga tonu ina. Loto umaya Yesu, le wafai le sauni, e mawai le filemu.
Good evening, everybody. I'm pretty sure you know who I am, but I'm just one of the whaiavas of the family. But a lot of you know who Muliaga is from this church and his exploits outside of this church, especially when it comes to Angu'u Samoa, one of the very well-known orators. But my experience with Muliaga at home, I don't call him Muliaga, I called him Grandpa. And the reason being is that I never had a grandfather. And he was that person, full of wisdom, knowledge, and he liked to pass that on to me. So just like his grandchildren, they would always call him Grandpa, and every time I was at his house, I would do the same. So just want to share with you, Grandpa, that I'm going to miss you. I love you so much. Thank you.
Manuela Malanga there. Grandpa.
Whawhitai mo le awanoa. Mua lava o te whia si le vinga ma le whawhitai i le tātou matai i le langi. O te whaatalofa atu i lo sunga whawhengainga i o riko awhamasanga ma le whale tua. Pāpea fo i le au whainga luenga le atua. Le ua tata i ina tātou sauninga loto whaale ainga. E wha wheloa i atu ma le anganga whawhitai i le pe ia o sau nei. Ma lo le sui fua maua ma le langi e mama. Greetings to you all and a warm welcome to the celebration of my dad's life. My name is Tayana Leo Soli. Behind me is my beautiful family, my husband, Tanrasa Salavau Soli, my daughter, Latira, and her husband, Arden McCarthy, and our three beautiful grandchildren, Olivia, Jaden, and Ezra. I'm the second eldest daughter, the favourite daughter too, of 9 children. I have 6 sisters and 2 handsome brothers. My father was the most hardworking man I have ever known. I was blessed to have been taught many things by my dad growing up as a young girl, like mixing concrete, building, how to mow the lawns properly, how to drive, pretty much all a man's job. In my last year of school, my dad told me that I was not going back and it was time for me to get a job. That was his way of telling me I was not good at school. I got my first job and he was so happy. Every payday, I would get my bus fare, my lunch money for the week, and the rest he would bank. This was him teaching me how to budget and save. I will always remember him as a real man of God. He loved serving the church, ministers, and the ecclesia. He gave every position he served, treasurer, secretary, diakongo, 100+%. He was a man of integrity, honesty, and compassion. I will always remember every Christmas after our kongai, the kids opening up their presents and having our adult games. My dad will finish off with his thank you speech to all of us. And the one thing that stood out was him saying, ko anga le loko, church, church, church. Va'aile leilo whangau, va'aile leilo ainga. If you see your siblings struggling, give them a helping hand. Ma nofo whialo whani. The last 4 months was hard on us due to COVID-19. With my mum and my sister Eileen holding the fort to care for our father along with our carers. With my sister FaceTiming us, our dad could see and talk to us. Once level 2 kicked in, we went back to our weekly roster with a sleepover in the weekend and shared amongst the 4 of us girls who lived here in New Zealand to care for our dad. Once our shift was over, I didn't want to go and say goodbye to my dad. because you go, Dad, la walole whale, and he will go, why are you going home for? I thought you were going to sleep here. And I said, I've got to go home to my husband and my kids and my grandchildren. And my dad will cry. He would cry and go, I love you, Leo. And then he would start crying, and then we'll both be crying together. As soon as I leave the room, my last words to my dad when I left was, love you, Dad, manuele po. See you tomorrow. Thank you so much, Dad, for everything. I am forever grateful for your teachings in life and all that you did for my little family. Thank you for loving me, my husband, my children, my grandchildren, unconditionally. Thank you.
Hello everyone, I'm Muliaga Tofa's eldest grandchild. I was blessed to have Muliaga as my grandpa for nearly 33 years. It was an even bigger blessing for Grandpa to meet his great-grandchildren. I know that they have so many precious memories with Grandpa that I know that they'll talk about and hold on to forever. I was also fortunate enough to live with my grandparents at 41 Graham Ave until I was 10, and then we became neighbours when my parents moved into 43 Graham Ave, and I lived there until I was 28. Being neighbours had its ups and downs. One thing I loved about living next door to Nana and Grandpa was that if I didn't like what my mum had made for dinner, I would just walk next door. Grandpa would ask me if I had eaten, and I'd tell him no. Then he would tell me to take a seat and have dinner with them, and then he would tell me to go look in the pantry and get some food for my school lunches. And then the downside sometimes was that there was no escaping Grandpa. If he needed something or if he wanted us to do something for him, he would call our landline, and if we didn't answer, then a few minutes later we'd hear a knock on the door. And then if we didn't hear it, or if we just tried to pretend we didn't hear it, then he would start banging on my bedroom window. From the moment I was born, he's always been there. He was there to help my nana care for me when my parents went back to work. He was there for before and after preschool pickups at St. Giles. And then when I started primary, even though it was only a 10-minute walk, he would never let me walk. He would drop me off, and then after school, he would be waiting in the car park for me. I have so many precious memories of Grandpa, but one memory that my husband and I always talk about was when we had to tell him I was pregnant and expecting Ezra. Now we told my parents first, and then my dad had prepped us and told us whatever Grandpa says is what you're going to do. So walking next door, Arden and I, we kind of had in our mind that we were going to have a shotgun wedding. So we told my grandpa, and then he felt let down. But to our surprise, he said we didn't have to get married, even though Nana pushed for it. He said no wedding. He said if we were to get married, we would be getting married for the wrong reason. So thank you, Grandpa, for letting us get married when we were ready. But after Grandpa's disappointment turned into joy when Ezra arrived, they became instant best buddies. They would eat ice blocks and watch hours of WWE in Nan and Grandpa's room. On Saturday, the 27th of June, 2020, with my nana, my mum, my cousins, Kaina, Mera, and Serene. We witnessed my grandpa take his last breath, and he was promoted to glory that afternoon. Grandpa, thank you for your love, your guidance, and all the wonderful memories. Thank you for setting the foundation for our family, your legacy. Because of you, you made sure we grew up to know and love God, and I'll be forever grateful for that. Manuia langa, Grandpa.
Tēnā koutou katoa, ko maunga tautari te maunga, ko rangiti kei te awa, ko tainui te waka, ko Ngāti Raukawa me Ngāti Kauwhata te iwi, ko Ezra Toku Ingoa. Tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. Hi, my name is Ezra Sanimalo for McCarthy. I am the eldest great-grandchild of my grandpa. So that makes me his greatest grandchild. Grandpa, thank you for everything you've done for me. Thank you for picking me up from Maonga every day with a whole box of ice blocks and letting me eat 8 of them on our long drive from Ranui to Te Aratu. Everybody knew when we had arrived home because you would toot the horn until someone would come out. And if they didn't come out, then you would just hold the horn until someone did. Even though your driving wasn't as good as it used to be, you still insisted on picking me up every day. I was fortunate enough to have my first and second car crash with you, Grandpa. And the first was against the garage door, and the second was versus the garage wall. I don't know what the garage done to you, but you didn't seem to like it very much. And thank you for supporting me in everything I done. You came to watch me win my athletics, you came to watch me win my rugby games, and you came to watch me win awards at school. Pretty much every time you were there, I would win. So thank you for being my good luck, Grandpa. Grandpa, you always told me to try hard with my schoolwork and to concentrate on that. So when I got to tell you my good news about getting an academic scholarship, your face lit up with a massive smile. And even though you were in your last week, you put your pain aside to share the moment with me and my mom. So thanks. That's something I remember forever. My sisters and I will miss you, Grandpa. And although we are sad, we thank God that we got to know you for so long. Thanks again for everything, Grandpa. We love you. Manuia langa.
Greetings to you all in the name of our Lord and Saviour Jesus Christ. To our officiating ministers and families, I greet you. So I'm Whaeawa number 2. Blessed to be married to Leo. I met Muliaga in 1983. 1983, at that time I was seeing his daughter behind his back. So Leo asked if I wanted to meet her parents. So I thought, yeah, okay. I thought she was probably in a hurry to just put a ring on my finger at the time. It was a Saturday afternoon when I arrived at 41 Graham Ave, Te Aratu Peninsula, Te Aratu North. I was met by Leo's 6 sisters and me ati. Muliaga arrived about midday, 1 o'clock. He used to work Saturdays. So when he arrived, we greeted each other, talked, and we shared a meal together, and I thought it was a really nice meeting. wasn't until later on in the day when I was talking to Liu and asked, what did Mum and Dad think of me? And apparently Muliaga asked the girls, who was that young man who came here today to our house? And the girls told him, that was Liu's boyfriend. And Muliaga's reply was, I thought he was a Mormon missionary come to preach to us or something. That's the last time I wore a tie to the house. So that pretty much, if you fast forward 1986, November the 15th, 1986, Leo and I got married on that day. Real big occasion, typical traditional Samoan wedding. I think Muliaga was more excited about my wedding than I was. And the reason being, for Muliaga was not only his first daughter getting married, but it was everything surrounding the wedding itself, the wha Samoa, and everything was on show, anganuu, as you all know, all those who got married in the 80s, all their traditional Samoan weddings. And, for Leo and I, we were just decoration. It was all about, the art of Samoan oratory, seeing wha Samoan, and this man here, he loved it. Absolutely loved it. And I was proud of him for that. So that was wedding number one. And obviously, not only watching his own daughters get married, but also his sons, but also grandchildren getting married. So Muliaga, he never raised his hand to me. He never spoke to me in anger. He loved me like a son. And I'm very grateful for everything that he did for myself and my family. You might hear the word favourites. Well, he treated us all the same. I just want to acknowledge my sister-in-laws and my brother-in-laws, Metso, Sulu, Siala, Quinta Eileen Becker, Tuioti Lapi and Peter. Exodus 20, verse 12, honour your mother and your father, so that you may live long in the land that Lord God has prepared for us. So I just pray that he does extend to you and your families this long life and blessed life. And just finally, I just want to acknowledge all the in-laws, the outlaws. Here you've Ngalamanamanga, Savia Tama, Tui Paloa, Evan Charlton, he's not here with us, Afa Salifao, Pule Tulisi, who's also not here with us, and my beautiful sisters Jolie Mariner and Casey Mariner. Let us continue to uplift this family. It's because of us that our children are so good looking. just saying, but yeah. But Dad, Muliaga, Manguila Malanga, love you, so forth.
While my dad was sick, and every time we did loko in the evenings before he had his dinner or before the carers came to attend to him, my mum would do a loko, and my dad will always do his, he will always sing the whaiu beste for the loko, even though my mum hadn't finished her kakalo. But I like to share this song with you, and if you all know it, please join in. Ia e a whi o mai lo wha au lai Wana o Yesu e o lai ia u anau Ia te oe se e a lo wha mai wha au la mai Manuelo Malanga, Dad.
Good evening, all. Thank you for taking the time out to come and share with us tonight to celebrate Dad. I'm Sulu Charlton. My husband is Tuipuloa Evan Charlton. Evan couldn't come and share with us. Well, he couldn't come. We live over in Australia. He's looking after Kobe, our dog. I'm Dad's and Mum's third eldest, and unlike you all, I'm actually Dad's favourite, and I can vouch for that because Quinta, you said I was. We have two girls, Siala Nyosulu and Alicia Salema. Liu mentioned how Dad would always say, "Koanga loku, koanga loku." I think I'm the one that went to church the least. I went to church when Dad came and visited us in Australia, and part of the shifts Liu forgot to mention was I did a monthly. I came to see Dad every month, and I had the last weekend of each month with Dad. So Dad, there's many things I'm grateful for, but most of all, I'm grateful that God gifted you to me as my father. Okay, growing up, there were many lessons and teachings that you taught me. I know I caused you a lot of heartache, some of the times, but through it all, no matter what, you still loved me. You shouted at me, you disciplined me, you protected me, strengthened me, and you shaped me into the woman, the wife, and the mother I am today. You opened your arms, Dad. You opened our home, and you opened your heart to love Evan as one of your own sons. When Siala and Alicia came along, you turned your love up another notch. Dad, you and Mum love my kids so much that both of you have become a very important part of their life, and I know you both know that. Dad, you even opened your heart up to Kobe. You let him jump on the bed while you enjoyed times when you came to visit us in Australia. I'll always treasure the times, Dad, that you shared with us when you came to visit us. I'm going to miss driving you and Mum around Cronulla, around Sydney, and we'd go buy the Samoan food and your Samoan tapes so you could watch them at home. I'm going to miss driving you to Cronulla so that you could get your head shaved, and you like going walking along the esplanade with Mum. I'm going to miss Dad, sitting under the trees watching you and Mum, and you'd go swimming in the rock pools. In the earlier years, Dad, I'm going to miss driving. We'd go to the Makikis in Australia. They're really good. But Dad's favourite fruit was mangoes, so we'd always come back with mangoes, a big box of mangoes. And every time mangoes were here in Australia, I'd always buy a mango and I'd go and put them in Dad's room so that none of my sisters could eat it. They're always those were his favourites. Dad, I'm going to miss calling out local time, and then you'd come and Mum and all of us in the sitting room and we'd have a local. But most of all, Dad, I'm going to miss my time coming home every month. I'm going to miss our time when it was just you, me and Mum. We'd be in your room watching your akka. I'd go in the room, I'd go, Dad, what did you want to watch on TV? And you'd go, leaka yesu. And it would go replay, it would rewind, replay over and over again. I'm going to miss Dad, having a look time with you, driving to Ezra's games, going shopping, or going to your Mum's appointments. I'm especially going to miss our Sunday service, Dad. Every Friday night I'd come, and then Saturday I'd say to you, oh, Dad, we're going to go to church tomorrow, hey? We're going to go to church. And you say, yeah, kakoa. You'd get up in the morning, you'd be arguing with Mum, trying to get dressed, and Mum would pick your clothes out. But we'd get in the car, Dad, we'd come to church. And our last service, Dad, was the 1st of March. And then COVID came. But our last one is going to be tomorrow. So I'm glad that we can keep up our monthly routine just one more time. Dad, you came to New Zealand to build a home for Mum, to build a home for us, your children, your grandchildren, and your great-grandchildren. You extended our home. And it was just the right size for all of us that came through the house to fit in. And now, Dad, when we look through the windows, we can look back at our past, the memories we cherish and will hold so dearly, all of you and Mum and us growing up. We'll look into the mirrors, Dad, and we'll see the women and the men that we've become today, moulded by God through you and Mum. We'll walk through the doors onto the paths that you paved for us to a future of happiness, warmth and love. Dad, you have always been there for us. You loved us unconditionally, and I know that you'll continue loving us for eternity. Safe journey, Dad. We love and miss you very much, but we know that you're with Jesus, you're with your mum and your dad now, you're with your brothers and your sisters. We love you, Dad.
Hi, Grandpa. It's me, Ciala. I really miss you, and I just want to thank you for being the best grandpa. Thank you for everything you've done for us. Thank you for all the sacrifices you and Nana made for us. Thank you for always having your door open for us to come and visit whenever we wanted to. Your house feels like home for all of us. Thank you for making the yummiest oka and for making it any time we asked you to. Thank you for always making sure we had a can of soft drink and a packet of chips at the TAB. Thank you for taking me to school every morning and picking me up every afternoon. Thank you for being fun and for filling our childhood with laughter and giving us so many beautiful memories that we get to look back on. Thank you for being really loving, kind, generous, and patient towards us. We all really love each other, and that's what you and Nana have instilled in us. Thank you for covering us with your prayers, and thank you for fasting for us every Friday until 6 o'clock with Nana. Thank you for your time. You always made time for us. I got to have you for 30 years, but I still wanted more. Thank you for loving my dog Kobe. He loves you too. Thank you for loving me, and thank you for never leaving me. Thank you for loving Nana unconditionally. And thank you for showing us firsthand what it looks like to love and honor God, to serve Him and to put Him above everything else. This is one of the hardest goodbyes I'll ever have to say, and I'm gonna miss you every day. But I promise I'll keep coming home to visit you and to take care of Nana. I love you so much, Grandpa. And I'll see you when I get there. I just want to thank the Whaiwhao for your time. I wasn't going to forget to thank you because at my 21st, I said my speech I thanked all my family for coming and all my friends. And then I walked away from the microphone and Grandpa told me to go back and thank the whaiwhao. Thank you. And we don't live in New Zealand, so I just really want to thank Nana, all of my aunties, my uncles, my cousins, and Grandpa's carers for taking care of him so well when I couldn't always be here to help. Thank you.
I grew up very close to my grandparents, especially during my childhood. We got to live with our grandparents at 41 Graham Ave. When I was young, my grandpa had 5 best friends. It was Nina, Litera, Ciala, Serene, and me. Life was good. We didn't need any more cousins. We were the originals. We loved Crocodile Mile, but Gramps didn't because apparently mai maule vai. It was a waste of water. One day it was very hot and we asked Grandpa if we could do Crocodile Mile and he said no. An hour later we saw Grandpa drinking a glass of wine at the table. So me being the youngest, I had to go and ask him if we can do it. I'm not sure if it was because it was me the favorite or the wine, but he said yes. Grandpa was our school driver, so my parents could go to work and teachers training college. We were never late. He would always be ready ahead of time in the driveway, the engine on, and he'll be beeping his horn. Whether we would be going to school, church, pack and save, or my favourite, the TAB, when Grandpa was ready, we would hear the car horn, and so would Gloria Ave. My grandpa came to New Zealand with my nana for a better life. My grandpa would always tell us to pray to God, go to church, and do well in school, so we could have a better future for our children. My grandpa would always ensure we have eaten. Every time we would go to his house, he would always ask us if we have eaten and go to the kitchen and make yourself some food. Gokolesa, Nutrigrain, farm-baked cookies and popsicles will always be a childhood memory of you. I cherish the times you and Nana came to Sydney and stayed with us. In 2008, we moved to Sydney, and my grandparents would come visit us once a year. We always told you and Nana to come and live here with us, but you would always say no because you need to go home because you miss Ezra. The past few years it was difficult for me to come and visit because my heart would ache every time I went back to Australia. I would always book the flight that left at 7 a.m. because I would leave 41 Graham Ave at 4 a.m. I always booked that flight because it was always so hard to say goodbye. I would wake up very quietly and I'd open your door and I would just whisper, "Bye Nana, bye Grandpa," and I would kiss you as lightly as I could on your head so you wouldn't wake up. But you did, and it was hard every time saying goodbye. Grandpa, you and Nana have taught me about love and how to love others, to forgive one another and be kind. Nana and Grandpa had so much love to give. My grandpa loved my Nana, and my Nana loved my grandpa so much. Where Nana was, Grandpa wasn't too far away, and where Grandpa was, Nana wasn't too far away. Did I just say that?
You know what I mean. Thank you for your love, Grandpa, and may you have a restful journey. May God be with you. See you soon, Grandpa.
Talofa lava. While my family's just coming up, obviously that was not our cousin Tui from Samoa, but it is our family from Utah who were doing a moli mau, so it's just been swapped around a bit. I'd like to extend a warm welcome again for my family and especially our friends that are familiar with us out there. And thank you for coming. Thank you, ministers. I'd like to introduce my family and I'll get our children to share first. So my name is Siala Clark. I am daughter number 4, or child number 4. I'm married to Savia Tama, Eroni Clark. We've got 5 children, Shekinah Laumanu Kilupe, Eroni Jr. Okay, the dad wants me to say it. Eroni Afa Donald Atapana Clark, Caleb Daniel, Jaira Rappi Clark, and Zion Michael Yafeta Clark. See, my dad was Siala Tofa at the time, so yeah, anyway. So I'd like to introduce my youngest first, Zion.
Hi, my name is Zion. I'm the second to last grandchild. Whatever number that was his favorite number, so I'm his favorite grandchild. Sometimes after school, we go to Teretu. When we say hello to Grandpa, he would always ask us if we're hungry. Sometimes my mum comes and she says no. And when we come home, I eat like a whole box of cookies and she just looks at me and like, wait, what did you eat the whole thing? And I'm like, well, I was hungry at Teretu. Yeah, love you, Grandpa. Thank you for being my number 1 supporter, and yeah. Hi, my name is Jara. I am the third to last youngest grandchild. Of course, my middle name is Rappi, which is my grandfather's name. I really appreciated him as a father to me sometimes. He was also someone who was loving and kind, and sometimes when me, my little brother Zion and my cousin Israel would sometimes be bored during konga'is, so we would always run to Grandpa's room and we would sit down on his bed and we would watch heaps of wrestling and we would enjoy it, and 2 hours later our parents would be looking for us, and sometimes when they found us they would be saying, oh, you're chilling with your grandfather. And yeah, fast forward to 2 weeks before he passed, I was saying goodbye to Grandpa. He would ask me if I was going home. I'd say yes. He would start crying, and it made me sad to see him cry in front of me, which also made me cry really hard. Just enough, Grandpa. I love you.
Talofa lava, whawhatai, tele mo le avanoa, lo ingo o ka lepo. I hope I said that right. Just a bit nervous. My name's Caleb. I'm the grandson of, I'm one of the grandchildren. Just want to, sorry. I was pretty privileged and lucky. I felt there was a time where Grandpa was struggling with dementia, but he would, as one of our aunties already mentioned, he forgot who some people were, and I was pretty lucky. I got gifted a photo, a big frame of me when I was playing, and Nana loved it so much that she first hung it in her room. And so Grandpa would always know who I was. He would never ask who I am because he always said, "Oh, hello, ka lepo." The next thing he would ask is, "You hungry? There's food up the back." And so I was always happy that, and I thought of myself as the favorite grandchild because he always knew who I was straight away. But in Ephesians it says that we are His workmanship, that we're God's workmanship, and I recently learned that the Greek word for workmanship is poema, which also can translate into poem. And so it's pretty special that we can, before we were already born, God, He already wrote a poem out for our lives. And so if I could think of Grandpa's poem, I would mention how much he loved the church, how much he loved God, how much he loved his family. Sorry. So Grandpa, just want to take this time just to say thank you for teaching us to firstly love God, for teaching us to love our family. They also told me 3 or 4 years ago, before I think the biggest rugby game of my whole career, he told me to play with heart and to always honor God. And so, Grandpa, I just want to thank you for the lessons you taught me, for first loving my mum who loved us, who loving your children, loving your grandchildren, all the same, even though you love me a bit more. So Grandpa, we just thank you and we honor you tonight. Thank you everyone for coming and showing your support for our family, and thank you.
Hello everyone, my name's EJ. I'm grandchild number 11 and the oldest son of the Clark family. Firstly, just seeing everyone here today, it just really shows the influence and the impact that my grandfather had. So I just want to thank you all. Thank you, pastors, for officiating today as well. I just want to share probably a special moment last year that I had with Grandpa. So for those that don't know, I have a heart condition. So sometime last year I was in hospital, and maybe 2 days in of me being there, I didn't know Grandpa was there at the same time. So I just went down to visit him, and he was quite shocked to see me in a gown as well, in one of the hospital gowns. And he sat me down. I just spent some time with him, and what was more special and what stood out to me the most was that, he really cared about my well-being, my health, and that just shows that the man that he is. He puts his family before himself. He was so hardworking, very humble about it, and that same day as well, he just prayed for me and only wished that I would go home. And so it was very hard having to leave, knowing that he was still there. And if I could sum up my grandpa, there's no words that can really exemplify who he is. Just seeing our family, seeing my aunties, my uncles, my mum, it's really shows a true example of who he is. And I was very blessed, very fortunate enough to have him as my grandfather. I think I had a special place in his heart only because of my condition. One quick story of that was probably when I was about 7. And my nana had told me and my cousin Sean to go pick some lemons outside from the lemon tree. And what me and Sean didn't know was that you pick up the ones that actually fall off the tree. So we were picking the ones off the tree that were still a bit ripe. And that were still green. And we came in, and I just felt really bad for my cousin Sean because he got the hiding and I didn't from Grandpa. So I still owe you for that one, Sean. But, you know, I love you very much, Grandpa. This isn't a goodbye. And, you know, we all long for the day to see you again. So, yeah, thank you, everyone.
Hi, everyone. I'm Shekinah. I'm grandchild number 5. And one very special moment that I remember from my grandpa, and I also shared this on social media, but you know, just like a lot of the grandparents here, he came all the way from Samoa for better opportunities for his children and their grandchildren, and education was, you know, a huge priority just underneath family and church. And I remember the day I graduated from university, he couldn't make it because he was too sick. But then my parents told me after I did my walk down Queen Street that Grandpa's at home, he can't come, but he's crying and he really wants to see you. He wants to see you in your gown. And I remember I was like, oh, we have to go see him. So we went back to Te Atatu, and I walked in with my cap and gown. I was really proud. And he saw me and his face just lit up. And then he began to cry, and then I hugged him and I said, Grandpa, I did it. And he was so proud of me. And then he was so proud of me that he was like, you know, my car, yeah, you can have it. And I was like, oh, yes. Yeah, but I'm really grateful that I got to keep that car. And I named the car. I was a student, I didn't have money, okay? But I was so grateful I got to keep that car. I named the car Patrice. I don't know how I got the name, but because of the car, he remembered who I was. I know a lot of the cousins talked about how he got dementia, but he always remembered who I was because I was the one that got the car. So he would always see me go, yeah, Milo Scan, how's the car? You know, and I was like, oh, hi, Grandpa. So yeah, I was really proud of that. And, you know, one of the sweet memories that I have, actually the last time I got to actually share a moment with my grandpa, was a couple of days before he passed away. And it was just me and him in his room. And I remember I was just about to leave and I was like, okay, Grandpa, I'm gonna go. And then I saw like the TV was on, and then I thought, oh, I should use my Samoan or something, you know, because I've been trying to learn. And I was like, oh, Grandpa, kape kiwi? Like, you know, like, and then he goes, oh, yeah. He didn't have his teeth in, so he couldn't really form words. And he was like, oh, yeah. I was like, oh, cool. And then I went and I took the remote and I turned it off, and then he goes, this, and I was like, oh, sorry, Grandpa. And so I turned it on, and then I was like, the Jesus film, and he loved the Jesus film, and I put it on, and then I was like, oh, cool, okay, there you go, Grandpa. And then he just looks at me and he goes, I love you, granddaughter, like this. And I was like, oh, I love you too, Grandpa, like, yeah. Alofa te oi. And then he just looks at me and then he goes to sleep. So I was like, oh, so I turned on the TV for no reason, but it's okay. But that moment will always be the lasting memory of my grandfather, is him telling me he loves me. So Grandpa, thank you so much for your love. And I'll always remember you and until we meet again. Yeah, that's it.
Sunga taitai, Reverend Yeriko, sunga toa ina, ia Reverend Apa. Mai se fole au whaingaluenga le atua, pe ia malu tatu au fia. The first time I met as well our father-in-law, it was straight after a rugby game, and I remember coming to the house and meeting him for the first time, meeting the family. And as he said to me, we engaged in conversation, and he said, Ronnie, how is your parents? And I thought, oh, he knows my parents. Of course, we're from Glen Eden PIC. And then he said, is your father still, is he still a carpenter? Is he still working around the construction sites?
And I'm sitting there thinking, oh, and how's your mum? Has she got still that white patch on her hair as well? And I realized in our conversation, that's not my parents. And then I realized something, that if I'm ever going to have any chance of marrying his daughter, that I had to say, just stand there and say, "Le manguia o mātua whawhataia te mā." And so from there we went on, and of course we got to the time when I decided I was going to ask Siala to marry me, and then I told my parents. They gave me their blessing. I planned it. I was going to surprise Siala, and then I went around to the house to pick her up. And as we went towards the car, I realized I hadn't asked the father for his blessing to marry his daughter. So as Siala was waiting in the car, she had no idea what was happening. I went around through the back door, sat with Muliaga and said to him, Muliaga, I'm about to ask your daughter to marry me. And he said, no. No, he didn't. He said yes. Just kidding. He said yes, but there was the beautiful thing that he said to me. He said, I've raised my daughters in a way that they find someone that they can love and they can live the rest of their lives with and their family. And I think I've always remembered that of him, that he was such a man of that. He raised his daughters in a way that they would find, and of course their sons as well, find a partner for life and continue on and bear many grandchildren as well and great-grandchildren. So there are things there that I always am very thankful for, as Tanuvasa and Ngalu Malemana has shared about as in-laws to this great man, his wisdom, his love. And I think one of the other things that he really put on many of us as well was that when I think about leadership and I think about great men of leadership, I think about him and I think about the influence that he was. And I think in the line of work, and many of us that we do, that still in the Bible in 2 Corinthians, it says that the aroma of God. And I think about that aroma, it speaks so much about influence. And he was that influence for us. And so I'm very thankful for Muliaga, that I get to marry his daughter, but be part of this wonderful family. And of course, so I'm very forever grateful. So, I manguia lo malanga te mā.
That's my family? No. As my family know, I'm a person of acronyms. So my eulogy for my dad will be RAPI, the R-A-P-I. And sometimes, well, actually, when I was little, I always heard Lapi, 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 and I knew my dad's name was Lapi. And one day when I asked my dad to sign a form for me to permission at school, I got a fright when I looked at it and I said, Dad, that's an R. And Dad goes, yeah, my name's Rob. And I went, why do people call you Lapi then? So I wanted to use the L and the R, if that's okay with everyone. But my dad was loving. He loved everybody. He loved my mum. He loved my mum so much that, he expected us and knew that we would honour our mother. He always agreed with my mum and loved my mum, and they were both a team. And one story I wanted to share about my dad is that he loved his brothers and sisters, as was mentioned. And just the other day I was sitting and talking with my mum because I said, Mum, I really wanted to share this because to me it just showed the love of a brother and a sister. So I said to my mum, is it okay to share it? But my dad loved me so much that I loved his sister so much. He had a sister that couldn't have children. And I know it's very common in the Māori and the Pacific families that they would let their children go to another person. So my dad loved his sister so much that he had given me up to be one of her children. And as you can tell today, it didn't last long, but my mum also loved me too. But I just wanted to portray the love my dad had for his sister, that he was willing to give up his own child for his sister. And he did that a lot for, as Miko had mentioned, not only for his other brothers and sisters, but I am blessed to be part of our wider ainga. I am blessed because my auntie Siala still took me in a lot, and not only did I learn the values of my dad, but also of his sister. The R for me is respect. My dad always respected others. He put others above himself, and he also expected us to respect each other. So he brought us up in the way to be respectful. A for me was going to be amusing, but everyone's already shared how my dad is funny, and he is funny, but he was authentic. Everything about him was real. You know, he never did something half-heartedly. He would always be real. When he wanted to tell us something, he was real. So for me, A is authentic. P, they say no one can be perfect, but I know for me, my dad was the perfect dad for me. He was a great role model as a husband. See, he was so great that I picked the right husband for myself. He's all my dad was and more. But he was perfect. He brought us up in the way that he wanted the best from us and for us. And I just wanted to share a story about my dad. As we grew up in this in Ranui PIC, we joined the Aukalavu when we were younger. I remember when we were young, we always wanted to do athletics, but at the time it was a bit difficult, so we never got to join athletics and run. But when we were about 15, and you know, at that age, I didn't want to do running or anything like that. But one day when we had Autalavu, my dad said, "Yep, come with us." And so he took, I think, the 4 younger ones of us. So it was Sulu, myself, Quinta, Becca, Eileen. I don't know, Becca, it's not sporty. No. You gave me a funny look. No, but anyway, we went with them and we were thinking, "Dad, where are we going? Where are we going?" And we turned up at Waitakere Sport Athletics, and he enrolled us at Waitakere City Athletics. And we realised why we had to do that is because we were going to be running for our Autalavu. And so just to let you know some of the things of my dad and just that, not perfection that we couldn't do something wrong, but just wanting the best from us and instilling in us to be committed and work hard and persistent in what we did. So I remember my dad used to get us up at 6 o'clock in the morning for us to go running. We would meet at our local park with some of the other children from church, and we would do running and stretching. We had to do long jump, and we had a coach that took us. But for me, it was my dad wanting the best for us, doing what he could for us. For me, all I knew was you run in bare feet. I got a shock when my dad came home one day and he bought these spikes. Didn't even know spikes existed, but my dad went that far for us. And my most proud moment about that was when my dad had gone to Samoa one time and we were having the athletics, and in the relay, only some of us were in the relay, but this particular year, we had some injuries and some people weren't there, so our relay team was made up of myself and 3 of my sisters. And I remember that year at Sacred Heart running and coming first, but I don't say it like in a way like that, but for me it was a proud moment for my dad because all those things that he instilled in us of working hard, commitment, him doing his best for us allowed us to repay it back to our dad in that moment for my dad. So my last one is I, and that's integrity. My dad was a man of integrity. He was, whatever he said, he did. He didn't tolerate dishonesty, and he instilled in us that as a young child. I remember reading one of my sister's social media posts, and she shared how, just as young children though, that my dad didn't tolerate lying or not being honest, that when we were younger, if anything went wrong in the house or he needed to know what the truth was, he would ask us, and if the one who did it wouldn't own up, then all of us would get the discipline, which was just we would all sit in a row and have our hand out, and he would just smack our hand a bit, tickle our hand, as my sister had put it. But he was instilling it in us at that young age of the integrity of being honest. So I just want to thank you, Dad, for all those many things that you've taught us: respect, love, being authentic, giving the best, to be not perfect in the eyes of ourselves, but giving our best in excellence and being people of integrity. So I love you, Dad. Thank you.
Malole on sai il tātou whapotonga. Ia, paisi tātou break lai titi. Pei a hoi leo o tā longa alua lua tā longa ia, saule le kumeso ia sau mai break. Tātou tūlai, tātou pese whātasi an toi whāwawai leo o tātou molimau. Yehova i amalo, umai o matolo tofa, tone i foa i O matolo toa ata oe au Apetai, alala mai lalo, tātou toi whāwau, tātou molimau.
Talofa lava. Thank you, ministers. My name is Quinta Salefao. I'm daughter number 5. If you want to know how I got my name, I'm Quinn, number 5. It means fifth child. Yeah. I was blessed by my mum's friend beside her who named me. And when it came to registering me, they were going to give me this other name. I think my mum remembered and said they argued which name I was going to get. And then when my dad heard it was going to be one from his side, then he went downstairs and I'm Quinta now. It's not on the Mariner side. It's here, Quinta, number 5, okay? So my family here is Afa. This is my husband, Afa Salefao. My oldest girl, Grace Salefao. My oldest son, Nathaniel Salefao, and Zoe
the last one. I'm going to keep it short. They're not going to be speaking. I'll be speaking. I'm not too sure about Alpha, but today I'm bang smack in the middle of 9 kids. So when you're in the middle, you're either too young or too old, okay? And what I'm going to talk about today is discipline. My father's discipline, okay? My sister did mention something about integrity. That was what he valued, telling the truth. He despised, you know what the 7 sins? A lying tongue. He hated a lying tongue. And I'm just going to give you an example of what happened. One day when I was little, I was, I think, about 6. I think I was 6, yeah. And the boys, they were just too young. And my dad, he would portion out the food, you know, because there's 9 of us, you know, it's got to last. So if you had your portion, great, you know, and then you'll save the next one for the next day. But one afternoon, we had, after our lunch, we had, I think it was watermelon. And he had shared the watermelon out for us, and then we ate it. But then, you know, little Miss Piggy, you know, I went into the fridge and I didn't eat just a little bit of the half watermelon. I ate the whole thing. And then he came out and he said, "Oh, I ate a melon." You know, my Samoan is not good. It's really bad. But he said something like that, and we were going, "Oh no," you know. And I was going, "Oh no, I'm in trouble." And then, you know what? He will find out the truth. You know, he found out the truth. He lined us up inside the sitting room, and we had to put our hand out. He'll ask, "Did you eat the watermelon?" And no, boom, like this, and we'll start crying before he'll even get your turn. But in the end, I just felt sorry for my father because he had asthma. And every time he went bang like this, he'll gully, and when he put his hands on his hip, next level, you're going to get hard, it's going to come harder. And so in the end, I think it was round 5, and I thought, oh my gosh, I've got to tell the truth, you know. And then I told the truth, and then he was coughing up, and he told us, go to our rooms, you know. And in our rooms, my sisters were going, "Why didn't you tell the truth? What did you eat all the watermelon for, you know?" And that was it. If one did something wrong, we all got it, okay? So that's how he brought us up, to tell the truth. So he didn't like that lying tongue. And the other one was respect. Yes, Yala was already touched on respect, but he taught us, one, to respect our mum. And he taught us to respect our oldest sisters. Well, one day, me and my sister, we were, we were just talking, and we upset one of our other sisters, our older sisters, one of them. I'm not going to tell you which one. And anyway, she burst into our room and said, "I'm telling on you." And she started crying, and she goes, "This is not..." And, my father heard of the commotion, and he came running out the hallway, and he saw me. I was on the bunk in our long hallway, and he knew, because I think I was the worst child, he saw me one look, and he got his full spot out, he was taking off running. I'm thinking, oh no, and I was on the top bunk, and I knew, he's gonna get it like this and go boom like this, and then he reached for me, but he slightly missed, but I panicked, and then I thought, oh my gosh, and I jumped off my bunk bed, and I ran down the hallway, and I ran up up the driveway, thinking he wouldn't chase me. Oh, he was down. He was chasing me with the full spottle, and he was running like this. And I thought, oh my gosh, have you been at my house? It's really long. Oh, the drive was quite long. I mean, no, the driveway's long and the road is long. And he was really close behind me, and I was running really fast, and halfway in our street, we've got an alleyway. It's dark. You can't see anybody. So I dashed down the alleyway, and he was shouting and chasing me, but I got out of the alleyway before him along Te Aratu Road. It's the main road, and I leaped over this, I think it was a brick wall. I leaped over the brick wall, and I hid. And in the brick wall, there was like, those gaps and little holes. And I'm looking through, and then my father goes zoom like this, and I go, oh my gosh. And then my sister's all running that way, calling my name, and I was thinking, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? I'm in trouble. So I waited. Cut a long story short, I saw my uncle, Gofa. He went to Uncle Gofa, and their kids were looking for me. I think it was Langi, and I think it was Afa. And his car came down, and then my dad's came down, and they were talking like, oh yeah, we'll check this way. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I don't know how to get home. Who runs away from their father when he's got the full spot in his hand, And I'm thinking, how am I going to get home? And then anyway, I fell asleep, on that property. It was the property of the thing. Fell asleep, and I thought, and I heard the birds, and I was thinking, oh my gosh, it's nearly daylight, And I was thinking, what am I going to do? So I walked home slowly, and then I still had my school uniform on. It was Rutherford, and I had no shoes, and I'm like next door neighbour. They've got this 2-story house, and I climbed up to their roof, not their roof, but it's sort of like a balcony, and I sat there and I was looking at the house, and my dad came out of the house. Every half hour, he would do the rounds, look around the house, get in this blue car, hold it, and then go, must have been round the block, come back every half hour, and I felt sorry for him. I thought, how am I going to get home? How am I going to get in my room? So I sneaked, and I was waiting. I thought, I might have to surrender. So I went, and I go tapping on my window. Siala, can you let me in? And then nothing. And to this day, I feel that she goes, no, you're on your own. So she didn't open the window. She didn't let me in. And I'm thinking, oh no. So I went to the back of the steps of our house, and I sat there, and I went like this. Please, Lord, don't give me a big hiding. And then I was crying, and then I fell asleep, and he came round, and all I felt was his hand. He took me by the hand, and I'm thinking, oh no, I'm going to get it, I'm really going to get it. He takes me in the sitting room. He sat me down for 5 minutes. We didn't say anything. He said, I'm a bit like my dad, pretty staunchy sometimes. And then he said, what you've done is wrong. I teach you to respect your elder sisters, but you don't listen. You never listen to me. He goes, what am I going to do with you? He goes, he said to me, I'm not going to smack you. I'm not going to smack you because I love you, but you will get a smack the next time you do it, And I'm thinking to myself, whoa, he didn't smack me. He was talking, and he taught me about respect. About respecting. He goes, if you go out, he goes, first you learn respect in my house. If you don't learn respect in my house, how are you going to survive outside the house, outside in the community, at school, blah, blah, blah. So that was the day I learned respect. And the thing that really hurt me most was my dad got up and he had no sleep. He got ready and he went to work. And that day I thought, how could I do that to my dad? But the one thing he didn't, when he disciplined us, he was teaching us. He was teaching us something, and he would sit down, he would explain. He goes, I smack you because I love you. And, and I quickly learned the, the scripture, Proverbs 13, 24. He goes, whoever spares the rod hates their children, but the one who loves their children is careful to discipline them. And he disciplined us not in an abusive way, no. It was just a strap like that. But I'll let Lapi tell you the next level, okay? His next level, yeah. And the one thing that my father really wanted us to do is speak Samoan, because our Samoan was not that great. When my dad, he had 2 jobs. He would go to work, go in the morning, carpentry, after that, go to his evening job. And my mum was there to care for us. And I just saw his work ethic to make sure that we were fed, and that there were days, I'm telling you, 9 kids, it's hard. It's not easy. It's not easy to feed them. There were days where, his money, we had to wait for his pay to come through on a Thursday night, and there was nothing for dinner, dinner. So we'd kind of fall asleep and go to sleep early. But you know what he'd do? He'll come late, he'll finish at 10, 10, I think, or 9, and he'll go straight to KFC. And he will come, bring our KFC, shake us up in our room, wake us up, guide us to the table, and there was a piece of KFC and a bread. I don't know whether my sisters remember that, but that's one thing I'll never forget, is when he came into the driveway, we'd see his light come up through our curtain, and we were all KFC, But, it didn't happen all the time, but, when it runs dry, when the money runs dry, it's dry. And the other thing that he was really awesome at, and I really want to take into my life, is he was giving. He was so giving. You know, every White Sunday, my mum would dress us up like, you know, we were models. You know, she would give us the best thing. We'd go to K Road. My sister Mickle would sew our clothes, and they were really new. We had new shoes, new socks, new undies, and everything new. But you know what our dad would do? He would say to my mum, pack these things, pack their new clothes. You know, there's 7 of us. And Lapi and Peter, and he would pack them all up, take out all these other clothes, he'll pack it up and send it to Samoa every year, and I never forgot. And I'd say to him, oh, why do you take all our nice clothes, you know? We can hardly afford anything. He goes, hey, you know, I love my brother in Samoa. You have everything here in New Zealand. But my brother and his father and his family, everybody in Samoa, they have nothing. They have nothing. And I said, yeah, but they're brand new. And he goes, yeah, that's good, because give the best to my family, his extended ainga. And I just want to let, you know, I can see my cousins here, that you know that Dad really, really did love you. He wasn't perfect sometimes as an uncle. He made mistakes. But the one thing he said that his brothers spoke to him before they departed, they asked him, be the father to their kids. And that's what he did. He was a father to my cousins, my first cousins. And sometimes, you know, in family, we don't get along sometimes. No one's perfect, but we fall, we get back up. And I watched my dad. Sometimes he didn't get along with his nieces and nephews, and they'll let him know. But you know what my dad did? He'll say, forgive, forget, and alofa. And that's what I learned from my dad, and I will take for eternity. I don't want to go, I'll stop there. But I just want to thank you, Dad, for the discipline, for showing me that, you know, we got to well, it's a bit of a rule now, in law, you can't. So I was grateful that I was disciplined by my dad. And I'll be honest, I was still learning to honour my older sisters. But at the end of the day, you know, our sisters, we do forgive each other. We're quick to forgive each other. We don't hold that grudge for a long, long time, like 3 years, 2 years. I heard people 10 years. What a waste. What a waste of time. So I learned to forgive and have a soft heart towards people. No one's perfect. So I just want to share with you guys that I learned to love and learned to forgive through my father. Thank you.
You don't get off that easy, Kunta. Talofa lava, everybody. My name is Afa Salifao. I'm Whaiawa number 5. The nephews and nephews refer to me as Uncle Hamson. So the funny thing is, I met Kunta in 91. She was 20, I was 16 at the time, and I'm joking. You know, guys, I really hate giving speeches, but I've got plenty of whakagalas to tell you right now. So, no, I've got really fond memories of my father-in-law. He was the best father-in-law that I could ever ask for. When I first met Quinta and I was being introduced to him, that photo that you see, the beautiful photo of his handsome smile, we were walking out the door after I'd been introduced to him, and he goes, Quinta. Quinta turns around and he goes, don't drink too much, eh? And I was like, but, you know, we were in Christian walks and outreaches performing these things, so I turned to Quinta and I was a bit puzzled. I thought, why would he say that to you? You know, I thought I was marrying someone that was pretty straight up and down. So, but you know, long story short, we've been married for 25 years, and I'm so happy. We've been blessed with 3 kids here, and we live in Australia, so it's really hard for us to get back and be with family. So we enjoy the most of the times while we're here, and I wish, you know, our kids always share with us about how much they would have loved to have spent more time with Muliaga. But I thank you, Muliaga. You've given me the best daughter, and manguelo malanga.
Evening, everyone. As you just met the naughty one, I'm the quiet one. Okay. First of all, thank you, ministers, for today. And also thank you to you out there. We've got such a big family that you guys have to sit through all our mole mauls. So thank you for your patience. You know, being in a family and being one of the youngest ones, we always got hand-me-downs. And as I'm listening to my sister's speeches, I'm going, oh gosh, I can't say that now, because everyone's taken them. So there are a couple of things that come to mind. First of all, in terms of favourite, I thought someone was going to raise that subject about being the favourite one. And I just want to set it straight. Dad didn't have favourites, but it was God's favour in our lives. He gave us Dad. Thank you, God. Okay. Bear with me. Okay. I don't want to go on a tangent because we're on time. So for me, one of the attributes and memories of Dad was a God-fearing man, as you've heard in my sister's Muliaga, a God-fearing man who gave his utmost in all he did in service for God, be it serving in the church or in the wider community. Dad lived and expressed many attributes of one who had reverence for God. So one attribute, which many of my sisters have already touched on, was love. He was Dad always showed love in action. So the memory I have was one day, Dad brought a total stranger home from the airport. At that time I thought, this must be an uncle, a cousin, or a distant relative. But when I asked Dad, he goes, oh no, he's my friend. So later I discover Dad met the stranger at the airport. His family forgot to pick him up, and Dad felt sorry for the guy, so invited him home. We hosted the stranger for one night till he made contact with his family the next morning. After breakfast, Dad dropped his friend off at his family house out South Auckland. Thank you, Dad, for showing me how to love in action. My relationship with Dad. As you know, I was a primary carer of Dad. I must say, I wondered how I became the primary carer. Initially, I thought it was because it was by default, being single. I would joke with my friends that I drew the short straw, but now I know I drew the best straw. So for me, also, I think it's full circle. EJ mentioned that he was born with a heart murmur. I too was born with a heart murmur, and I can recall almost every year I went to the hospital for a checkup until I was 15. And praise God, the heart murmur healed itself. But every year I would remember that my dad would always, as my sisters mentioned, would make us wear really pretty clothes. And my sister would always, Dad would always make sure I wore a nice frock. And so when we went to Green Lane Hospital, I had to go through all the checkups, which involved radio, an X-ray, etc., going through all the checks, and he'll say, "This is my daughter. She's pretty, eh?" And now just full circle coming back with me having the opportunity to take Dad to the hospital. I felt, especially when we went to Green Lane when he had his optometrist appointment, that was where I had my heart checkups. And back then it was really quiet. There was hardly any patients or anything, but then it was just like full on. I saw the cafeteria that my dad would take me to after I'd finished all the appointments. And I used to really thank him, and now it's taken its full circle because now I was taking him to his, to get his X-ray, to talk to the doctors. I tell you, I was a walking pedia for my dad in terms of his medical history, because when you go, so I had a number of experiences taking Dad to the emergency department. And when you go to the emergency department, you'll talk to the emergency doctor, then you'll talk to the registered doctor, and then you'll talk to the ward doctor. And they were amazed about how I just rattled off everything, all the history of my dad's, of all his health challenges. And I must admit, I did challenge them sometimes as well. So just bear with me. I was hoping my battery wouldn't go flat so I can access my speech. Just a little bit more. Okay, so I must admit my heart goes out to all those who are also primary care for your parents, your elderly parents. It hasn't been easy. There have been a lot of challenges, but no regrets. So I just want to say a special thanks to those who are on my journey in caring for Dad. I'd just like to acknowledge and thank Vision West. If you're here, Lucia and Pauline. Pauline, you're awesome. You always rolled with the Samoan. Lucy, you always shaved my dad's hair. You guys not only took awesome care of my dad, but you also ensured my mum got respite time. So thank you. And in the words of my dad, at the end of all your shifts, he would say, "I love you." So Dad loves you. Pauline and Lucia, if you're sitting amongst this crowd. Also special thanks to my closest and dearest who allowed me to share my journey when I cared for Dad. Yvonne Timaloa, Lila Tapu Taulepio, Lupe Tupo, my brother from another mother, David Tapu, and Siala Kili. Thank you for allowing me just to have time out and share with you my journey. Thank you for your time and listening hearts, sharing your most precious, intimate memories, caring for your loved ones that championed me on my journey to care for Dad. I'd also like to just a special thanks and acknowledgement of those, the Tuai sisters, for your faithful sistership. Special thanks to Sote and Yvonne, who have been a constant throughout this time, especially when my sibs were in isolation. Thank you, and I love yous. Mary and Emil Fingota. Emil, thank you for repairing and fixing things around the house in preparation for the CEs, etc. As you know, my dad was a carpenter, and when I used to look after him, I used to try my best to do my DIY jobs, and my dad would look at me and say, "Ka lo whai." I don't know whether he said "ka lo whai" because I was doing it myself, or "ka lo whai" because I did a terrible job. But yeah, as you know, my dad was that guy who always likes to fix things. Also like to thank my kids from my sibs. As you're aware, I'm the only single one. But I just want to thank you guys, not only my kids for my sibs, but also my sibs' kids. I mean, my sibs' kids, the great-grandchildren. Thank you for following through for all the stuff which I called out for you guys to do. And just know that Auntie always comes from a heart of love. I just need to work on my delivery a bit, like with a little bit of grace and patience. So thank you, kids. I'd like to thank Mum. Hi, Mum. Thank you for your patience and your unconditional love for me. I'm a bit of a strong-haired little girl, but just know that my heart always came for love for Dad, because he always deserved the best, because he gave us the best. So I'm sorry if I gave you kinga ulu. Love you, Mum. And finally, but not last, definitely not, Dad, thank you for instilling in me God-fearing values that my sisters thus far has reiterated to all of yous. Showing me how to live, love, in action. And even then, in those days of caring for you, you still taught me things. I've got to say, as my sister said, our Samoan was terrible, but my Samoan improved a lot. In the early days, I used to ring up Lapi. Lapi is, you'll see later on, and I'd ring him up and say, "Lapi, how do you say Mum's gone to Bessie practice?" And he goes, "Oh my gosh, Eileen." He goes, "Next time ring me up when it's an emergency," because he was in the studio singing. I said, "Oh, I'm sorry." But now later on when Dad would ask, "I fear Mum," because that was his memory, I'd go, "Vai oi, Mum, we alofele le washing." Or even sometimes I'll say, "Dad, what's the word for," and he'll laugh at me, but he would always be impressed that I always made an effort to use my Samoan. I must admit that that's one thing one of my friends that journeyed with me and caring for my dad said to me. She goes, "Oh my goodness, your Samoan's improved." And I said, "So there you go, Dad. Thank you very much." I'm just nearing my end of my muli mau, and also just to give heads up that there will be another muli mau from overseas, and this time it will be from Tui rather than from Utah. But I'd just like to say, Dad didn't teach me how to dance, but I know I inherited his ability to dance and choreograph. I was hoping to actually do a dance, but don't have time. But I do like to say just one verse of a song I wanted to dance for him, and that is by C.C. Winans, and it's called "Don't Cry for Me," because nearing his last days, every time I used to say goodbye to him, like my sister said, they will cry. And I always used to say, "Hey, sālekangi, yeah? Just i moiloa, manuea." And like my niece said, my translation from Sweet Dreams to Face o Miti Sumalia, which is wrong, but that was my translation. So the lyrics go, "Don't cry for me, don't shed a tear. The time I spent with you will always be. So when I'm gone, please carry on. Don't cry for me." Dad, I don't do goodbyes, so I'm going to say, see you later. I have a heavy heart, but it's not a broken heart. It's a heart that carries memories of you. My heart is overflowing with joy for you. No more pain, just peace. And I'm going to miss you, Dad. Thank you.
Thank you for your patience. Okay, I'm the baby. We're getting there. So this is my son. Okay. So this is my son Joshua. Okay. I'm the baby. My name is Becca, Elizabeth Becca. My husband could not be with us with my three daughters, Bule, Kailani, Mahalia, and Centralia. They're back on the Gold Coast, but they really wish they were here, but it's me and my son. So go ahead, Josh. Gonna carry you? Okay. My dad was a good speaker, so when it came to our weddings, I was wedding number 6. Everyone loved to hear my dad's speech because he was really funny and he will say things that, that was funny. So even when I remember some of the church people would be in the kitchen and you hear them go, "Oh, Muliaga's going to say his speech. Muliaga's going to say his speech." So they'll come and watch my dad's speech when he'll talk about his daughters. So with me, when I was getting married, Dad goes, what did Dad go? He goes, Becca, Elizabeth Becca, she is such a good girl, but she's a little bit naughty because I had a bump. It wasn't a bump because I was fat and I was eating a lot. It was a bump, and my bump was named Joshua. And Joshua was at my wedding. I was 7 months pregnant, and but Dad was really good. When I told Dad that I was pregnant, I was 5 months, I wasn't showing. And I went with my boyfriend at the time, but my husband today, Bule, and we went to tell Dad that I was pregnant. And so I remember just going into the house, and going into my dad's room. And my dad was always sitting at his desk. And I said to him, "Oh, Dad, Mum, I've got something to tell you. Can you come into the lounge?" And Mum was like, she's probably already knew. And she just goes, she just looked angry at me. And then Dad goes, "Oh, what do you have to say? Just tell me now." I was going, "Oh no, Bully's waiting in the lounge." And I got to, we need to talk in the lounge. So we went into the lounge and I told my dad, "Dad, I'm 5 months pregnant." And he goes, "Oh, but you're so skinny." And I was going, "No, I'm 5 months pregnant." And you know what my dad said? He is so loving and forgiving. He just looked at me and he goes, "I love you, Becca. Don't worry. Everything's going to be all right." And everything was all right. Everything went well. Because, I'm married to Bulle for 23 years. And we've got our 4 kids. So, I really thank Dad for that. He did say one thing, because we're church goers. And, we came to this church. And, he's so funny, because he goes, "Don't worry about the church. If they gossip about you, don't listen." And so, that's what he said about you guys. So I go, "Yeah, Dad." And so my dad was really loving. And, me being the baby girl, I was brought up really easy, I did nothing, My kids did it. My sisters did everything. I don't speak Samoan, so, I blame Mum and Dad for that. But yeah, I had a really easy life. One of my sisters said I wasn't sporty. I was sporty, but I was just lazy, and I was good, but, the school would come, and I'll play sports at school, PE, and the teacher was going, "Oh, Liz, do you want to play cricket for school?" And I was going, "Oh, no, I don't want to represent the school." And that was Rutherford High, because I went to Rutherford High for my junior years. And then, at AGS, I was like, "Oh, Liz, do you want to play basketball?" And I wasn't interested in sports, but, I had fun. But, I think I was a bit like Dad. Dad was a fast runner. But, when it came to exercise, Dad didn't like it. So we'll go to the hospital and Dad would have to do rehab. Oh, he would argue. He goes, Leah, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. And so I go, "No, Dad, do you want to get strong? You have to go to, rehab and exercise." And we're sitting in the ward and I'll get his shoes ready because he had to wear special shoes. But it's so funny because, we'll go one time and there'll be another patient there. And if they were struggling to do something like, they kick their foot, Dad will be sitting there and he'll look at the other patient struggling, and next minute, all of a sudden, Dad wants to exercise. He's like, "Go this, go that," really showing off. But that was my dad, He was just fun-loving. He was just, always just so fun. He was fun, He was so witty. When I went to, Dad was the youngest second youngest in his family. So we got older cousins. And I remember going to Hawaii and I hadn't met my cousins. And I was in Kona, but I had to go to Oahu. So I was meeting my cousins in Oahu. And they had never seen me. I had never seen them. Facebook wasn't around. And so I was at the airport just waiting, just looking. And lucky I look like my dad. My dad's very handsome and I'm very pretty. And I've got his smile and I just look just like him, but the female version. And so they saw me straight away and they just said, Lapi Tofa? And I was going, "Yeah, that's me, it's Becca." And they were so loving, and they would tell me things about my dad when he was little, and I was thinking, oh my goodness, they really loved my dad. And one of the stories my cousin said to me was that my dad was that uncle that all the kids loved. They liked to follow him, they wanted to play with him, and in the islands, how they go to sleep, everyone wants to sleep with him, beside him. And I was like, he was just a favourite one. They said that they just loved him, He would do so much things for them and they would just love to hang with him. And that was our dad, We had heaps of kids in our family, but he had so much love that he could love others. And I really love that about you, Dad. that we were so much loved. So much loved. So I'll give it to my son. You know, they were talking about Dad having pre-dementia. Well, Joshua, Josh is grandchild number 6. So he was after five girls. So, you know, Joshua was that break. You know, he was that, you know, first boy. And he looks like my dad because I remember one time when I was little and I was going to Dad, "Oh, Dad, why do you have to be black for?" You know, because now I'm black. And he will go to me, "Don't you want to be beautiful? Because black is beautiful." So if you look in our family, you know, some of us have come up, you know, there's always that one black one. Well, yeah, we're the beautiful ones. And so, you know, looking at my son being the first son, you know, he looks like my dad, you know, we're the beautiful ones, you know, the black ones. So he goes, I think it was like Thursday, my son called me, and that was the Thursday before my dad passed on the Saturday, and my dad didn't forget Joshua, because Joshua walked into his room on a Thursday. Joshua was busy because my husband's grandmother, also mother, passed, and we buried her Joshua buried her on the Friday, and my dad passed on the Saturday. So Joshua went to see my dad on the Thursday, and he didn't look too well. And when he was there, one of my sisters were there, and Dad didn't remember my sister, but he remembered Joshua. He goes, "Saw," you know, he never forgot my son. And that's really touching to me because, he was forgetting some of our names. And but he remembered Joshua. And so I'll give it to my son now to say his few words.
Hi everyone. My name is Josh. Grandpa's oldest grandson. Just gonna say, love you, Grandpa. Miss you, and thanks everyone for coming.
And so with that, every time I would go home, I would just say to Dad, hey, I'm finishing. You know, no, I would say, love you, Dad. I'm going home. But today I say, or tonight I say, I love you, Dad. You're going home. And we'll see you later.
I foi la no loa ai fe au whaatamaga. O tau no mai a Muliaga i le sela ma le tale. Peila o isa au a o mai ai ngā buenga whaatamaga i a Muliaga. O mea mua sa au mai ai o le moa ino le wao. O a o mātou ni sa moa i le mautele mua wao i sa mo. Au tau no mai nei ia mea na sa o ia o Mulianga. Lua o le whainga o le driveway e Mulianga. O lua i whai le palu. Fuanga o le palu o le simaa ma le o none ma le vai. Tolu o le a o ina o le wata vale. A wai o Mulianga se tangata e mai tele. Sa o sosoani ai la le aveina o ta vale a wale. Se avea ina o whanau. Ia maana ia wai tele na alu fale mai, tele na mai. O Mulianga stangata e whainga luenga le aso. E alu le tae au, to e alu le fiafi mana wa marisafulu, pe on ta ua le whanau. Fato a whaise malo o longa, to e usu ai fo le tae au. Ina wa mawala o whanau le awali ia o Lapi. Tuyoti o Peter, granddaughter, Samira. Ia male to tolu o lo ia Stalia. A pea ia Casey ma Jolene. Ina wa maua Lapi. O le mea lena mana o mea ati Mulianga ia te au. Whamole mole a watu Lapi mala ua. E whai matua ngane le la whanau. Sa whainga tai a te au le tūlanga lea. Ina ua mana o mia me atima Mulianga. Lapi e whai matua ngane le la whanau. Sa whainga tai a te ona o talia le mana o ngā me ati Mulianga. Ona o te alofa i la o tama. Whapea fo ona maua pizza o le mea la vai tas. Sa tama whai mai pea la ua. Ia ai le i. O te le i. Ona o alofa ia me ate Mulianga. Ia ai e whainga tā fo ia te au ona. Nā le to o lua se o whanau. No whamalia ia me ate Mulianga mali lie. Ai paule mea na o talia e la talosanga mai. Whai ngoa Lapi a Lapi. Le noa tau lea leo Mulianga o Lapi. Ia lea lana o talia ai le mana o ngā Mulianga me ati. Le whai ngoa o Lapi a Mulianga. Ia Lapi. Ia ai o me ati Mulianga e mai se lawa Mulianga le whai ngoa tau singa o Lapi ma Peter. Ia. E alofa te le to ina le i le awali ia, ai mai ste lava ia le teinei to fitu ia le whainga o Lapi ma Pita ia so la ia o le alolofa o nei teinei la o whanau. Mea fo ila le taua ia whai mai o la tau to fitu. Ia mare to o lua leo to o iwa la to. Ia e koe kaua kuma o whamai o lisi la ko usuma kua. Ia o mako o whaakase mai ma kuanga. Ia ai whautai, sa o whautai a Mulianga. Ai whaila o tala la ele. Mato mawhtanga me ati Mulianga. Ne wā matau na mai mai Mulianga ia. O le mea lava sa fia e to ina e. O ke o mai lo le whalefa mai to lua. Ka ko wo ki o ke fia ki e ai le tano. Kusa o le mea ngai fia ki e Mulianga. O le alu ki e le tano. A umar ki e le tano, wa uma foi le. Wa uma foi lona. Sai la tala ya Mulianga o no le. Le asa muli na uma lona ola. A solo su fitu. Ile lua le vavea le sto nai. Ai o faalonga mai o tawal au Mulianga. A wale mele a Mulianga e fai le mato fale. O le tau wala au o le ngome ati, po le ale ke leo le thale. Ai a wala au me ati e lau longo o mai i le wala au ngome ati. E misi lo le wa ai a Mulianga ia me ati, ia le kau wala au nganga e wala au ai lava, wala au ai lava. Kusala o le pō wawea o le so tōna i le lua le wawea. Na o whaalonga mai fo i o tau wala au Mulianga. Au sa wali mai lo i el potu. Ai whai mai le tala Mulianga. O whai o lea me te wala au mea. Mai. Po whai o iai whai ku le moe me ati. Ai whai mai. A whako e se me ke maha au. Au sau wha ia kulongo lengo fō, kalango lunga moenga whai mai. Whai skaloku, whai se kakalo. O whai aku ia Mulianga. Whai lau loku, kakalo i le atua. E, i lo mainga ke iai. Ia e aka Mulianga wha mai. Ia le ai whai lo skaloku. Ia no te talo lo lea. Te talo ma lotu Mulianga ma. Amene ma lotu. O ngofo ai. Kusa le lua, tolu, wha o whai aku. Ka watu ke moe o au ke usu ki whai ngā luenga. A mai lea ngofo i ia. Aku le hele la watu ke moe. Ia ai whai mai e lea. Ana le moe a Mulianga o te le alu o moe. Ai tāle lima le waweao ai whangwhangu aku mea sau ke sosoangi a ia whainga o Mulianga. Ia o sau loa. Tāle o no waweao e whapea me Mulianga. Ia whailo ka ko loko wa o kaimi e whailalo tu mea aki. O le ono e tae au. Ia o le mea ua a mata ua sauni mea te whaile lotu. Au wea tuna wai atu wa stui mai fōlinga Mulianga ua taua wana umatulo na hola. Ia na o pese lotu ala ia ma o talatala noa ia. Ai a mata lotu mea ati. Au wai atu au wa umaku ale o la Mulianga. Ua lea ia wa umale wa tōla na maanawa. E kilo mai mea ati wa umale o la Mulianga. O kam whai e pupungi a Mulianga, o wangia i loa me aki i awa, i loa mai a me aki Mulianga, wa umalo naola. E atu mai loa me ati i lunga wa wau Mulianga, whai mai whamuri muli. Awa e te alu ele i o malita whanau. Ia ua wau me i a Mulianga, wa o whiwa ave se me ati i awa. Ia nei wana pe se fulu me inute, ai toe te i mai Mulianga. O toe mahanawa mai Mulianga le. El mana wa mai lana Mulianga na whaawau i ala na mana. Awa uma o na ovili i ale sunga le matu whawhenga inga. Nā susua tu lo le sunga i a riko o whamatala i lumena o iai. O Mulianga na alu. A o toi te i mai ona o me ati o toi whaalawe lawe me ati a Mulianga. Ia sa whail mata o lotu tai au, toi susua sunga i a riko. Ia awhale wa ualo whainga ruenga. Ai se fulo te ele tōlu a wili atu la o. Rendora lea. Mai mam, a nena. Ua umale o la Mulianga. Ia. O taimila na alua i lo Mulianga ua le toi fo i mai. Ia a se whaamtalanga muli lea. I le ngā luenga ho i sa whai le mata tamaha. I le lona alofa i a te au, wa pēr lau whanau. I ai. E le maliu Mulianga sa o whawhetai i landa tausinga i a te au, ma lau whanau. E sa o whamalia i ai, i le a wātu o e awali ia mō la ua. Ai, paulawa mea na o whaia, o le whaai ngoa o lapi ala. Ia le alana. Fia e fo i la ua. E se mo le maupupu le mo tama, tai lawa.
We've now come to the most important part of the eulogies tonight. Lau sunga taitai. Le paia leo whangaluenga. Malu lau fia. Ia o au le numera valu. O le whanaua. Mulianga me ati. O foi o que so umar ko inga. O que so umar ko inga lau le. So umar ko inga le aka mai. O se o mama ftanga ma martama. O se maftanga e mafana. O se tama e lotu alofa. Se tama e alofa i lona tōlua. Il mato tina. O se tama e whaime le lei i tonu le ainga. O se tama fo e whaime le lei tonu le akalesia. O se tama e kausi whaife au. O se tama e kau kua le ka le sia. Se tama e kau kua fo i kongu le ainga. Ia o anga mea lofa la ia lewa mai e kia. Le se whaila sa ukala le au whaia vāngo fungofu mai le. Lewa alu Muliaga. Ia o ngan mana, kang vasa, kui poloa, sa vea kama, afa mapule. Ia o au lewa pule iau ku. E le pule me aki. Lewa pule. Whakkai i le au whaia vā ngofu ia. Whakkai le ali mo uso. I la lofa i makama, i malmakinga. Kusa wa cut short la mo mau awaia le whainga le vaenga ia. Le ko fiku lea. Kusa o la kou e so umalakinga. Kau karaso. O le au sale longa umai. Ngā war ngā ka le whale asi umungi a ngila. Me ngā le ua whaangoa ia ua lapi. Ia kalaula awal me whaamari e mun maule. Al matama. Alu mea lofa ngā mai e Muliaga ia kia. O le mea lofa mua. O le mea lofa le ngana wha Samoa. Ngā pāwar kanka le lo wha Samoa kongula inga le. Afu lewo whaeku. O leo vaenga umai e so umalaki ngā fi pārang. A whafkai mo le au inga ia te au i le ngana wha Samoa ma le mele o pesi. Ia ngā wako silfia. Ia so se aka ngu au ke arwai. E whai mai at kana Muliaga lapi. Whai lei. Afo e se kanka whai mele lei. Leo o maungi. O longa kala fo i a keau malmawhangau. Lapi. Ko anga loko. Kau kuar ko whewhiau. Kau kuar e karesia. Ia alo moli maunga. Ai. Manguia no maranga Muliaga. Ka roe mausongo fuanga lei. Ai. Ia.
Hello everyone, my name is Samira and I am the oldest child of Lapi and Jolene. Unfortunately my mum and Benna, youngest brother, couldn't make the funeral as they're in Australia, but my brother has just sent me a message that he would like me to read on his behalf. First and foremost, can't see because my eyelashes. First and foremost, all glory to our Heavenly Father for keeping us safe and out of harm's way during these tough times. Hey family, Benna here. Wish I could be there with you all during this time, but I just want to send all my love to every single one of you who have helped my family out. I'm going to keep it short because I know there are a lot of us grandchildren, as you would have seen. So I'm just going to speak about the kind man my grandpa Muliaga was, not only to his family, but to everyone who met him. A man of faith, always putting God first and honouring him with everything he did. He was a prayer warrior, always praying for his family, which I am forever grateful for. He has taught me the importance of God and what it means to be a doer of his word. I'm going to miss you, Grandpa, and your beautiful smile that could light up anyone's day. The Lord has called you to be with him, and I am at peace knowing you are safe and happy. Thank you for everything, Grandpa. Rest easy. Love, Benna. Yeah, just as some of my cousins mentioned, unfortunately I didn't have the privilege of getting dropped off and picked up from Aonga because my parents decided to move out South Auckland. But sitting here tonight and listening to my aunties talk about Grandpa and how he really treasured honesty, I was sitting there feeling a little bit convicted. So I have a bit of a story to tell. I think the Timoteos were living at Nana and Grandpa's house at the time, and they had painted the house walls with new paint. And one night, someone wrote something on the toilet wall. I won't say what it said, but everyone blamed me. So, Grandpa, I just want to tell you that no, it wasn't me that wrote it, but I do have a confession. Unfortunately, it was Mahalia and I that broke the back bed. Another one of my early memories that I have of Grandpa that the girls have already shared. Whoever used to sleep at Nana and Grandpa's house, he would wake us up in the morning, chuck us in the car, and say he was going to a meeting. And we'd go down Te Aratu Road, you know where the Wendy's and Caltex are? So the office was next to the Caltex, and what he would do is he would give us each a can of Coke or Pepsi and a lollipop, and he would say that he was going to his meeting. An hour later, he would come back, and now that we've grown older, we found out it was actually the TAB, not the office. But yeah, just before I finish, I just want to thank everyone that's come over to 41 Graham Avenue. Whether you've been there for 5 minutes or every day, just coming to support, having your presence at the house, bringing your mea lofas, bringing food, baking, and just being there with our family. We're so grateful for your help. And yeah, e manuia lomalanga, Grandpa.
Shucks, too much dust. Well, obviously I'm number 9. Definitely not the favorite. It's his fault. I think I just want to say thank you to everybody for coming up and I just got a couple of things I need to set straight with Dad. I didn't steal your golf clubs. I don't know who took them, but it wasn't me. One day, Dad fell off the ladder, and he said it was because I wasn't holding it, but he sent me to the garage to get something, so that's why he fell. And so that wasn't my fault either. Yeah, I don't know. I just miss you, Dad. Sorry I wasn't here. But at least you're resting now, and we'll take care of Mom. No, yeah, thank you.
La malu pe ia le i to le hoa. So songa le taitai. Mai se ole. So le whainga luenga pe ia le atua. O ia ma malu le au whipese. Ma le kale sia pele ranui. A inga na lua. Mai se foi ole. Le au fia poto le nea fiafi. O te whaamaria atu lava. Ona a silane e lau pola kalame. Ilo ia se avanoa ni tangata tu watu. Whamaria atu fōi le au whai por kalame. Ai ua iai lava le langona. E awa ona whai se moni mau. O le ainga o tau tama. Ia tau ia ina motu le pāu si le fia. O lo ingoau. Misa tau veve a rona to whai ono. O lo tina. O le tua whineo. O Muliaga. Lapi. Po rapi. O le a whai alo leo. E whaima. Fonga tau moli. O lona ainga. Se i whai sina moli mau pu ulava. Mosi o mātou ta māleanga o le mātou ta māfo. Na soifua Muliaga i le aso 5 o Tesema i le tausanga tasi lea feiva salau fās fulu maratasi. I le ala alii fale asiu a ana. O lona tamā o tofa elenio fonoliko. E mai rotuma i le atunuu o fiti. Pula. O lona tina o sosoli ngonga tupō o fale asiu. O Muliaga e se fulu, o le lona se fulu, o le tā auso e se fulu ma le lua. E ono tama, e ono 14. O le whaasolonga le nei. O Isaia, o Leu, o Siala, o Tofa Afa, Muliaga Viki, a novale o lo tinalea. Sauvao foi fale, fui lau mea tu pō, o sulu, Muliaga rapi. Ro pepe, ma le tama inoa e alua, e de isuafa. O Muliaga sa ia ele vai taimi na nofo ai savai. I lona tua fine matua o leu. A o ngā lulua e leu, ma le susunga, le whawhengainga i a leuma, i le e kalesia e whakasa i sa maunga. O nā onga i le o ia, i ni nai tausanga, i le a onga maualunga mata ai vave. O i le a onga lea, na whaailoa ai le tā lenia le toi ina lea. O le tamoe. I le tuunga o le se lau ma le lua se lau mita. E alu ese Muliaga mai le aonga lea, le high school le po le aonga maununga lea. E le i whaoa e seisi, o na manu malo, ta longa po ana tamo e ngai. Salo foi o manatua e le kalesia o tato i o jatatu, na whaasi maa ina lava, e le tato au te le vauma le kalesia. O relays foi nea, 1x4 ma le 4x4. O alo nao to ina lea. Na si maa ipui, a tato jatatu. O Muliaga e tausi whengainga tele i lona ainga. E pele ona tua whawhine i lona anganga ma lona loto. Ua mawai ona tua whawhine, ai whaau au pēr lana ngā ruenga o le avea o whanau a ona tua whawhine ma ana whengainga tausi. O ana pele nai tono le ainga. O alo ma whanau a ona tua whawhine. Ta sile vaenga no to vai mai ai, no to sila mai ai lungo le video. O Muliaga na sa ili ai le to family uta le ainga. Ina o mavaio na uso matua. E fai me sili. E fai me mafai. So o se fa le lave o le ainga. Iti petele. Tula ia Muliaga. E monilo na lo fai le ainga. E loto ma walalo ma fa mangalo. Na tele ta ofi ma mau ina na fa utanga. Ai fia e fa soa i so stangata. O Muliaga e le filfili e kalesia. Po o le a lava po o fea lava le kalesia e tā pua i ai lea vaenga o le ainga po lea vaenga o le whanau. E lango ale to ina lea. Maana fautuanga, maana whamalosi. E tō a anga e tautua so se lotu nā tau te lotu ai. A malanga Muliaga i Samoa. Po o ai lava e wala aulia, o ai lava o le au ainga po. Tau ainga e wala auina ia e wha mautu i ai lana whainga malanga. Na te ena male anganga mawalalo, male whaalo alo. O na whai mailo na tarito nunga mo lona taofi. E whainga tā inga te ia. O na ia pāsia whale asiu. O lo o lango mawaina i ona mātua po ona tua. E nofoa i whale asiu. O Muliaga o le tangata muli lea o le ta auso lea. Ua wala au mai ai le tua. O se tangata e tautua ainga, tautua lotu, a e tautua ma le whamaon. E le whaalia lia Muliaga, pe wha maua lunga Muliaga, ini tofi po o ni ata mai wa ia maua. E le whaalia lia alto i danea. Whai mai ia o lana o le wala awina na o ia mai le atua. A o mea lofa foi nana mai le atua ia te ia. O tofi ma le ata mai. E le whaafefete ina ili to ina. Ko le fitala inga ia Muliaga. Muliaga, e nene umi se mon mau. Whaafetai te le lau. O le alia ngalo oe. Ia unga luenga sili na whai mo le ainga. Mai se fo nei tangata tu atu. Ta whai a mo watari. Matua ia la pima. Mapira. Ia whaftai fwele, le whionga atu ioti, lapi. I lo le whatai tai mai ni a wami ona whai aso ia o tātou nofo. Ai whaftai tele Muliaga. Lau tautua. Ai mai se foi. O lo walofa na sa saa i alo ma whanau o le ainga. Alui alo malanga. Mō mātou alofa. Tau whamuleanga. Tai la sunga mane. Tai o sauninga mane. Pai o lea fia. Pāwhitai. Leanga o lena o folo lava ile. Pol kalame. Ia e pei o le tau e a foi. A umalola la mo mau le ni mo mau a le la batu te tala tu pele ava no. O I lave fia tala no. Ya. Nanga le ua mai fatanga ngai. Fia ngā tu yoti ma le vaeng. A le usuino la tau pes mut fa mut.
Tala tu le avanoa, mo le tai tolu minute. Tai tolu minute, wa uma mo le mau wa sili lama na taua. O mo le mau le anga solo mai, tai tolu minute, mo lona tolu minute. Ya, watu oi. Ya sanoa priama.
Oh, thank you, Reverend Yeriko Masanga, for the opportunity. While I'm doing my speech, family, can you please quickly make your way forward? Meati, Meto, Leo, Solo, Siala, Quinta, Eileen, Becca, Lapi, Peter, Tolua, and your beautiful families. Thank you for this opportunity that you've given us to be able to share our short stories about our relationship with your beautiful father. And on behalf of our parents, Belu and Funaki, our siblings, and my brother BJ, who's in Gold Coast and couldn't be, he sends his love. We just want to say it's a privilege to be here, and we give glory to our Father in heaven for this beautiful opportunity that we can come together as family and friends to share and to celebrate the life of Muliaga Tofa. Our journey started with the Tofa family back in 1982. My parents were fresh out of Knox College, and with a family of 5 young children in tow, they were called to Te Atatu PIC Samoan Church that were worshipping out of St. Giles. And so I remember on the first day that they set foot at the St. Giles Church, I know that my parents were nervous, they would have been scared, fearful of the unknown, but apprehensive. And then to top it off, my mother's full Tongan, just to add to it, to be in the mixture of apprehension. But the first people that greeted us was the Tofa family. They approached us as we entered up into St. Giles and introduced themselves, and that was to begin a long journey of great friendship and relationship. And it wasn't just the girls, Muliaga and Meati. They stood next to our parents. They put their arms around our parents and they championed my parents on during their ministry from the first day we set foot in St. Giles to the day that they retired. When we first came to Te Atatu, Muliaga was very sick. He had asthma. However, this man, ironically, held every position in the church. He was a whailaukusi, sui whailaukusi, the treasurer, the blessing of the Aotearoa. And whatever position he held, he gave it his all. And you knew that if Muliaga was in leadership, that team or that group was going to thrive because he was very thorough, he was well organised, and you knew that that year, whatever group he led was going to be a good year. And so you can see that kind of transparent in their children, that whatever they do, they give it 100%. And the founding members of the Te Atatu Church, there was only a handful of people when we arrived. But they were renting there, and it was a small church, St. Giles. I know some of you are still there. You guys are blessed because you guys are part of our story. But there was only a handful of people there. But they set out on a mission, real visionaries, led by Muliaga, Meati, some of our other founding members. They wanted to build a church where we could call our own for their children, children's children. And they got together, these visionaries, and they said, yeah, let's build a church. They didn't want to just build a church that was for 200, 300. They wanted to build a church that was seated for 500 people, build a hall that was a basketball court length long, build a preschool, have a massive car park. There was these kind of people, their character back then. They didn't have much money. As we heard, they were factory workers, they worked 2 jobs, they were hard workers. And I remember when Leotea spoke on our opening, you know what these people had? They had faith and guts. And now we are blessed to sit in this place that these people worked hard, they put their hand to the plough and they worked hard so that we could enjoy it, our children, our community. And so we really honour Muliaga. And you know what? There's this man at the back. You might not see it tonight, but maybe on Monday when the service is on. Him, and one of the other men of our church, Te Lea, they were the builders of that manse. And so this man is a man of great talents. And so I have no qualm about getting up here and testifying to his goodness and his faithfulness to his God and to his church and to his people. Lapi touched on it, that he was a kausi whaiwhiao, and I can definitely say that they were, amongst other members of our church as well. But they would come and feed us, they would clothe us and bring money. And Muliaga, like Siala said, he allowed his girls to come and stay at our house for days on end during the holidays and the weekends. Why? To help us host my parents' guests, the whaiwhiaos that would come through, the malangas that would come through. These girls stood beside us and served and helped us host these people and to look after us while Mum and Dad were gone. Lapi would only come if the fridge was full, and if it wasn't, then you'd go back home. But, it would have been hard for Muliaga to let his daughters go to somebody else's house to help us. So Muliaga, we're so grateful. We're so thankful, me ati, and the girls and Lapi and that, just for your love shown to Mum and Dad over the years. And we will never forget, girls, at Dad's retirement, how you guys all made the trip over. You guys are living overseas. And we are so touched that you guys turned up, other church members too, but today it's about Muliaga's family. So thank you so much. We bless you, we love you. And we're just going to sing a song, and it's called The Bond, because our bond is so strong and it will never be broken. Actually, I just want to just give this example. Muliaga, when he was a whailau kusi or the leadership, he'd get up and he'd do the notices, and then sometimes he wouldn't be able to carry on because he's coughing, and you'd think he would stop and just sit down, but no, he pressed on until that task was complete. And I'm reminded in that reading, 2 Corinthians 4:16, where it says, though the outward body is wasting away, the inward is being renewed every single day. And that was Muliaga. He didn't care that outwardly he was, wasting away. Inwardly, he had that faith in his wonderful almighty Yahuwah, and that he was going to do whatever it takes and complete it till its fullness. So I better stop, because I'm sure my dad will tell me to hurry up. So move forward. This is our family. And we want to dedicate it to you, me ati, and the family. Oh, we love you, Muliaga. Enter into your eternity whole and healed, and rejoicing in the presence of your Saviour. We will see you again. Ia manuela malanga.
Come
o sauni mai le mon maulea ala watu i tukulanga ranui a mai a ia ona so mai lo le malau to pese ia ona pai ai lo le o tatou titana pai isi moli mau i tatou i piti pe a ma tatou sauni
Whawhikai mōre. Lau sunga kei kai mōre a wangoa. Ma oringi la wāwangoa. E ka kaua onga i singa leo. A inga Muliaga i ko kongo le karesia. E whai e lau e le sunga kei kai longa mōri mau. E alanga kauwhanga whaiso mōri mau ia. Langal ko inga sa mako ngaruru e mai le amakangol ni e karesia. Ola kula ya kula masa u mori mauanga o u ia ma va Muliaga. Inga wa wala ulia i ma u e sunga ya sekoe e ve maki akong. Pio i rango u ngā maa maka mai mariko inga. Wai makua Muliaga ia. O mea umaia sa mori mau ai ia le. Ia alom whangau, whakasima. Alom whangau ar sunga riko inga. Sa o kau make inga pe ese mea o so mai sa mori mau. Wale o mori mau. O whaanganga inga i lea kua. Ngā lue ngā ringi koi. O auskanga ka nguku oso i Muliaga. A ungofo mai ore ngofola. A wai mere aka leo Muliaga. O lae kiru aku Muliaga ia. A wai mai fo le aka leo. O lae vai aku Muliaga ia. Ngofo a perea. O lai mga Muliaga si usau e whaise mōni mau o whako e se aku iai. O le ala ngalo usau lau sunga le kai kai, e i whapea ua. O i koe rua, Ia le lei. O Muliaga. E sa oai mōni mau ianga, whai e. E le alo le whapea O kofi uma o le auroku. Sa ea keia. Ngā maanga lue mai Muliaga, ai re o mai sunga ia pepe. Sa o pere skenge la ukalovo. Ai ke kupe, ai whai lau kusi mingo. Inga wo o mai pepe, sunga ia pepe. Kau ave ia le, ia kofia. O le mākulai mai ma Muliaga. Paule skula i malosi mai, i ko kongu li langlango inga o le sunga ko inga i ape. Wa fo yo lai le kamu whaire le o mai ore, sunga i ape lu kongu le auloko. Ai ku le vala aulu, ale fionga leo sa le panga, e fia so o ma le au kalavoua, mako. Nga kalia le au kalavoua. Ka lia ka maiki, ia osonga si ka mai o kalavoua. Nenga maku o ai, rea whiwhisirau waluiwa. Nenga koi ngā whāki ai Samoa. O se mea malosi lea kalunga whakula i maili. Ngā luenga kalunga maku ngā lue mai. Maku o e whai mai isi kāka o isi auroko. O e rako o ka whao e re whaiswhasa. Pei ar kalia pelunga whae. E o ka whao. Maku o maku ka whao maku o mai. Te whauka i aile. Le wawalo le koi. O Muliaga. E sa oai mori maurea. O se kaka ka whiofi ma se kaka wa ai mau. O se kaka ho e whainga kanga i loa se sifu i a winga o anga whaamakalanga. E ola vai au. E kuu i aile kele o ma ngā lua. E ui au ke peresi kenge isi. Kai mo lau kalvo. Ai ko sa pres kenga lau ko inga le. Siang whangau. Le moi mau. Ko i kia au maka alonga le au kalvo. Wa afia o mai angi ka miki. Pa i mai mare sungar ko inga. Malanga ia fo ko fik. Oi, lea. Ngai ai re wa nganga nga fai. E se ala u voria. A Muliaga. E se la u voria. A Peru. I kam whainga lau kalvou le nga fai. I o mākou fo le au kalvou le mo le mau sungar ko inga. Malolo. O mākou le ngasi mai le i por karika. Oi ole. Kirikik. Oi le hei e. Nga malo le kirikik ki le sua ngasi ampik. Wa koe fia umi ngoke whama. Ia. Ia. O se maoranga kau kua mai wai e whaaso so leu wa whai langi le kele o ngai ko inga. Nga mako kau fukuri mai. Pa wale mele ang ke muri ai. O lo whaalongo. Mo whaia. Mo whaia kura me fingi ngalo i ai. Ko whainga o mai ko inga o Peru. Ka mo whai ngalo e. Wa o kere au kāling. O waku Peru. Ia wa kere au kāling. Ia lein kāling ia ki a kongo ia lau loko. Ia wa o ke ave pas. O kapiang. O ke ave luri. O ke poko e kuka. Mea uma. E whai mai ko inga o Peru. Vai mea ngai whai. O whakura lei, kere au kāring. Ai rein kāring a kisi ki a kongoi. Pe au si kanga ka fo resi kanga. Ai mai Peru, ioi. Kere au ki a, oi, kere au kāring. Al wharo lawe o mera ngai kupu iau. Kere au af kāring, ia resi kāring a koa. Ia, ngira waka ke ola mai ere af kāring ina. O, Muliaga. Ia, o ke roa au risika ka munga iao. Ia lewa e malanga. O ke iaso o kula e mai whaile o kusi. Ai ngofo mai o Muliaga. Kei biku sa wale a kuai kuolo. O le kali alea, o le whamkalanga alea ko inga iao. Ka malo mo ngā luenga. O ke kakalo mo oe mo ngā luenga. Ia lewa e alu Muliaga. Leo kako whai whoiara. Leo ai mua. Mua aku le. Kako ausora waku mua. Ia, ai. Le iro ia mako ia po whe. E alu ere ko wiki le whai. Kau inga i aro whamai le kua i la malanga. O ke kai kongu wa lewa ngai ao le kua lo. Ia oe. Koe lo kingo la mako whako whai ai. Ia aro whangia le kua. Me aki. Ia. Loko kere. O kinki sa wa ia. Ia, o lai lo kere, si au whangau. Ka maiki, I love you. Kou. Ka lai de kara lengo, ko er kou. Er kou ka mai ake o kou. Le aki nga e o kou. O kou o ranga. Ia manguia o kou. Manguia le au fia. Manguia le au sunga le kai mo le au whaingalua. Paruia ranui. Ia walawa ia o whai makako sui. Ia, manguia lau.
Ia. Ia. O mai tupulanga. E lua foi tau minute. Malo ale on sa. Malo. O lea whatoa tolu i tū la o tātou lotu. Ioi. Start from 4:30, 5:30, 6:30, 7 o'clock. Not bad. Ioi. On sa i mai toi titia uma. Uma, ia. Ai sei, pai atu momonga le. Ia, a mai alo le pese ale whanau, tūpulanga. O le sunga i le whaipau missionary metotisi alanga mai Samoa, ia, e teitaia i tātou se te tala.
O te mua ona o whātulau le pa ia o lenei malu. Tafutafane o le au whaingaluenga ia o le whaisa tala e mua ona o whātulau mo o whātalo whātu. Ia o ngā solo mai alum whānau. E whai ai au o ma sui o i lātou nei ia e whapea ia mātua o le nei au lotu. Tama ia a whamasanga ma le tina. Ia le tina ia me ati ma le whanau. O le a le whao mia sitala o na wa halu foi ia le pō. Ia pe ona sirsi lātu. O nisi nei o alum whanau wa palawine le atua isi ngā luenga me si au lotu. Ai ua mātou toi poto mai. A mata mai lava ia i mātou mātutua. Se ia o lava i nai se o whanau iti. Mātou te fia langi ina se pese. A wasi o mātou tama o Muliaga. Le tina ia me ati ia and your children. We offer our love. And also we want to honor your husband, your father, to you and your family, and also he's a father to us in our church from Te Aratu, right here in Ranui. So without further ado, this song was written by our very own Mona Lisa and Ine Akuso. May this song and the words of the song deliver words of comfort and love. We love you guys, may God bless you, and we leave you with the verse, Romans 8:18. The pain that you've been feeling can't compare to the joy that is coming. We love you guys and may God bless you. Manuia le sauninga whaftai.
Tātou I fōma whamaulalo I le atua e ale te talo. Tātou te talo. Lo mātou ta mai o I le langi. Iesu ke wiso lo mātou o lii mo lo mātou whaola. Ao le nganga pa ia o lo mātou whesoso anisili. O le oe lava o le atua mai le vavau o atu le whaavavau. O le atua o ana nafi o le aso mātai au. O oe lava o le whaatumutu munga o ngā luenga whaatino le tangata I le lalolangi nei. A wana te pena ina le lalolangi I lona mata ngō fie na e whaia fo I le tangata I lo whaatu sapa ia. A o ia mea e leo ni mea tu mau. E ola matupu le lalolangi. A e fo I lava I o ao le ola mo le soifu o le tangata. A e meisi o mea na e whaia le lalolangi. E nei a whiawhi lo mātou wa li I mātou te puno nou mo mātou tofa o, mo mātou loto whawhitai, ma le nganga vivi I atu I ate oe. A iei fo I le tu whisiri sili o mātou mawhau whau mo mātou loto. Neri I e whawheo na mātou vi ia oe I teimi o whaingata. Whawheo na mātou pepese ma aleluia I ate oe a o mātou maua I mawhitianga. Ai le ie whawhitai lo walofa ma lo wanga le lei. O awa umana e o ia te I mātou o lo mātou woti, o lo mātou wala lea I mālo. Ma o le ala lea tātou te wheiloa I ai ma oe lo mātou o lii ma lo mātou whaola. O mātou whaalongolongo I mōli mau, ma pē senga, o mātou fia o leo mānaia, o mea le lei ma mea fia o mātou whaalongolongo I le ne fiafi. O le ola leo lau au auna na e fōai a te mātou. O le sa whai mata mā, o le sa whai mato o lua, o le sa whai ma matua I le tuu le whiau ma le ngā luenga. Ai meise te tonu lau I kā le sia. Sa ngā lua ma puno wai ma tautua tua vai ai ate oe ma lo fina ngalo lo mātou tua. Whaaftai le ola na e au mai. Lea ue e toe wala au lo mātou tua. O mātou vava ai le tupua e o whanau. Mai si o mātou ta mānei. O mea na e whaasino ma e whaatonu. E ala ia ua fiong pa ia. Vi ia oe lo mātou tua. I lou mātango fie, ma lou le lei, ma le māneia wa e whaai mai le ola lo mātou ta mānei. Aftai o lo maua, e mātou nei o poto le fia ma le manuia. Mai lava yo, tai o lau e kāle sia, e o lava I mata fale, ma so e si lava ua mātou poto le nei asu. Vi ia oe ono lo wanga le lei ma lo walofa. Ai maise o lau tau singa ia te mātou. Whaftai lo wanganga pa ia tu musu ma fiso swani ia te mātou. Ai maise le teimi nei o mātou maua I whaanonoanga. Whaftai au awhionga pa ia o mātou wao mo mātou whaitau ai. Whai mataitai ala, whai mataitai tamu. A wala mātou savaringa I le ola o e whina ngalo ai lo mātou tua. A sidi la mātou whaafetai le taulanga e tasi e awhe na ta pena ina mo I mātou. E whai e lo mātou whiwhilinga I a te oe ma lo whina ngalo lo mātou tua. Mātai o māsiasi le nei afiafi. E ta ua I mātou o lau whanau oe lo mātou tua. E langona lava le māsiasi lo mātou tua. A wā o whai lava I mātou ma whanau anga sala I a te oe. Whanau leo suistai ma whaalong te tā I a te oe. Te leo teimi wa tau ma oe o a mātou amionga. Mātou te tūwhiangu ia te oe, mātou te pō mo mātou tā ia te oe. I le tele o aso ma le teimi o lo mātou wola. E whapea fo'i le te mānei lo mātou atua. Awai, e le atoa se tangata i le lalolangi nei na oe lava. E iai se ngā whawhita auli o le te mānei. Mātou te pūno nou whātasi le nea whiawhi malie lo whinangalo. Whamangalo ina i mātou o lau whanau anga sala. Ia vele maliu o lo walpele o Jesu Keriso no maliu lunga le sātau. E tongi ola, ma whaamama ina iso mātou pisi pisia ma so mātou palapala. Liu mai au fufonga lofa le li ie le nea fiafi. Mātou te tālo le li ie, tau tino yo luma lo mātou atua, maua i mātou le whanonoa. Maua i mātou i ti ngā, maua i mātou i puapua ngā. Ai mātou te iloa, na oe lava e maua ai le file mu o mātou lotu. Wha meise mai alo a nganga le li. Wha meise ia me ati ma le whanau. O ainga ngā lua ai meise o le kālesia. Wō ma e wa māsani lo mātou atua. Ia fōa ai mele māwhanawhana. Fōa ai mele file mu ia te mātou. Ina ia mawhai o no mātou tepa i lunga ma savali luma. E tautua ina pea oe lau fe au ma lau ngā luenga. Fe soani mai alo mātou atua i lo mātou vai ma lo mātou whatau waa. E vale lea ma tama i mātou le whaatino ina o le fe au ma ngā luenga. E mātou te wha moe i ante oe tonu ai mea uma mātou te whaia. Wha ia o mātou wala. Wha mamalu o mātou tangata. Ina ia mātou whaatino se ngā luenga. Whai se vi, ina sanga vi ia ai pea oe lo mātou tua. A mātou whaalongo i upu le a wholo ina e lau au auna. Iau whale o mātou lotu. Whai ma, vai fo, whai ma, wha moe fo. E tue fuata ina ai le ola wha atua i ate oe. Oe si la fia toe sao ninga o le tamanei. Wha mole le ie, e le whaia so mātou lotu. E tu iate oe taunu uai mea uma. Tai le soifua, tai le ola. Ina ia mawhai o no mātou whamawai atu. I le sa mātou ngā lulue ma puno nou i le ngei lalolangi. Whamanuia le au fia. A mātou tā ape turi muri au ina i mātou i lo lofa ma lo wangele. Le whiri ma le ti apolo e le moe si o mātou wola vai. Le li ia vese ina. A ia whatasi mātou ma lo nganga pa ia. Te leo mātou manaonga lilo i o mātou loto le li ia na oe te sila fia. Whai ia i lo fina ngalo. A mātou te fia te talo le te talo na ea o mai ante mātou. Lo mātou tamae o le langi. Ia pa ia lo suafa. Ia mai lo malo. Ia whaia lo fina ngalo le lalo langi e peo na whaia le langi. Ie fo ai mai a te mātou le as nei a mātou mea ai e te tau mleas. Peo na mātou foi o na mātou whamangalo i nātu ie wanga leanga mai a te mātou. Aua foi e te teita ina i mātou i whauso song. Ai e la vea ia i mātou ai le leanga. Wa e ou le malo male mane. A toa marivi inga e whavau lava. Amen. Amen.
Tātou toi vivi le tua, o le pese lua se lau, lua se fruma le lima. Luka i lona mata upu e fitu, a o le whai upu e sifuru ma le tolu, e fia pa au tu iai se manatu. Ua sila sila atu le alii ia te ia, ona muti muti a lofa lea o ia te ia. Ua whetala i atu ia te ia, aua e te tangi. When the Lord saw her, his heart was filled with pity for her. And he said to her, "Don't cry. Don't cry." Tina upu whamawhanawhana mo i tātou, ai maise o el tina, ma le whanau, ma inga na lua, ma le kalesia, ia e maise o wō, ma e masani. Ma o te loa wa, levana, na le toi o isi le whalsa, talu mai le korona, ia a lea la wa tātou rolotu i whalsa pia i si ranui. Ua tātou wa aia mai le tala lea sa whaitawina le sunga a Michael Collins. Ni solo te tele se lua. 2 processions. The first procession was led by Jesus, and a large crowd went into name. And the second procession was led by a dead man who was carried out of name, accompanied by a large crowd of mourners like us tonight. O le solo lo taitai atu e Yesu e oi le aio naina. Ma le solo o lo sau mai naina. O lo taitai mai e le oti. Taitai mai e le fata. O lo fata mai e le oti. Ma e matua tu fa whengai. Ia solo e lua. O le isi solo umi, o le solo lo iai le fia fia. Solo lo iai le ola. Lea lo tai mai e Yesu, lea li o le ola. A o le isi solo, o le solo a tangata whanoa noa. Solo le loi mata malingi, o lo tai mai e le oti, ma le au osilangi. Lea ua whetau I tutu nei. Whetau I tutu I le whaitotoa o le aio naina. O le maliu lea e whata mai. Lea sa tātou whalongolongo I o whaitauina. O le tama e toa tasi astina ua oti lana tane. The one and only son of a widow. O lana tama lea sa wha moe moe iai le tau singa o ia. Awa o tiute ia o tamatane. O le tausi o mātua. Lea la uoti. Ua le ai nei se isi sa wha moe moe iai. Ua sili ei ona oti fo. Ne tau mate o ni la ngona ma fatia umanei saile nei tina ina ua oti le sa wha moe moe iai. Peitai na manino le lei I le sila whanga le alii ma fatianga o le nei tina. Sila fia le lei e le alii. Ina ua la whetai ai I lunga o le ala. Petau I tutu. Pa mai tātou tusi. Ona muti a lofa lea o ia te ia. Ua whetala I atu ia te ia. Aua I te tangi. we are told that Jesus' heart was filled with pity for her. He had compassion. He felt her pain and entered into her sorrow. Just as he feels your pain, mea ati, malwhanau, maainga, he feels your pain and enters also into your sorrow. Pei ona tātou I loa mai le tala, o le oti lea na whata mai naina, na ia wha maite, ma wha o Sofia le muti alofa, o le ali le tina lea. E na ia wheta lai ai, au ai te tangi. Mai le ingata ai, I le nā o na wheta lai, au ai te tangi. Ai na matua fio I lava. Ma pai atu ona ao I le whata. Polo tau toi le tama. Ma wheta lai atu. Le tau lea le ai. O te whai atu ia te oe. I nā tula ia. Pa mai na nofo I lunga le tama. Ma tau tala mai. Ona tuina atu lea o ia I lontina. Kua māsani le tātou whaalongo I fuai tau fo ia e whapea. E matua le iloa lava e leoti se tangata. E le ai fo I se isi e te ea lana sau. Po ai lava. E ao lana pule. I le soifua ma le ola o le tangata. A o fea lana iai le aso lei nei. O fea ana pule. Ma ana ma losi sa iai le aso. Ioe. O le taimi lava na whetau I tutu ai solo nei. E lua I le whaitutoa. Suia uma. Mea uma. Suia I mea ofo fongia. Na le peti ai lava I nā e le ali I le maa losi o le oti. Mani ona whamata. Ai ua fio atu ma toe whatu ina le tamana oti. Whatu. Le toe tū lea wa tātou moli mawina. Ona o le ali toe tū. Le ali o le ola. Le mana lava lea o le ali toe tū. Lea foi na moli mau iai le apostolo Paulo. Na ia alanga ai ma whapea. Le o tie. O fea o iai lau tui. Le tū ngā maa ue. O fea o iai lau manumalo. Wa le ai. A wā so se mea lava e iai le ali. E fefe le oti e la lata iai. Ia, e whai ona tātou I loa. I maliu ia sa iai, sa awai iai le ali. Na toe tutu uma lava e na whioti. Pei o le tamala alfa fine lea mai naina. Ia whapea le oti o la salo. Whapea lea fine o Iairo. Ia ai mai se lava o lona ia lava maliu. Na ia toe tū man malo mai le oti ma le tūnga mau. Le tioa a feta lai le alii. Aua e te tangi. Ona o lea e matua manino. E lea I se maa losi o I se oti. E lea o le muta anga fo I lea o mea. Lea ai. No wonder why Jesus was saying this to the woman. Don't cry. Because death is not the end. Because death does not have the last say did not have the last word with the son of a widow from Nain. This means that Jesus has the authority that is higher and greater than of the coffin and the grave. O lo I tala atu o le oti le manu malo. Ma le ola whātasi ma le alii i le no fuanga ua ia saunia mo i lātou uma ua whaolaina. And I want to tell you who are the families and friends of Muliaga and Meati. Death does not have the last word with Muliaga either. Awa ua whaumatia le oti le manmalo. Ma o te tali tonu wa whapea foi le maliu a Muliaga. Lo tātou tamā. Le ali ti a kono. Ua tātou poto mai ai le nei pō. E uina oti. Oti lea o le tino. A ole upumoni. Ua umana toi tu Muliaga. I le ola whātasi malona ali. Lea sa ia au auna iai. Ma tau tua iai, tau sanga i tele o lon soifua. Tele ona tala. Tele tala o le maliu a Muliaga. Ko ia o se au auna whamaoni. Tā tātou whalongolongo iai. Mōli mau ai. Lana whanau. Masui o lona ainga. Ia e maise te tasi o le kalesia. Le au na sa whao ngā le lei o naso. Whao ngā le lei. E lei wha tumu lima i le ngā luenga le atua. Tele au ngā. Tele foi o nao ngā ia te oe mea ati mal whanau. Whapea o na ainga. Ua uma o na tapena le lei e Muliaga. Mea o le soifuanga le nei e te tua iai malau whanau. Uma o na ia tapena ina ma whaasino ia te outou le whanau. Whaasino ia te outou le atua. Lotu. Lotu e peo o outou moli mau. Sa oa. Tonu outou. Awa o le winga lea. O le ingoa rapi. O le awa. Awa. Sa wha mau popo i ona a inga. Sa tau tua maosi. Ai ale ngā luenga le tua. Lona tofi ti a kono sa tau tua ai le atua. E ala i lana kalesia, e pele i lonanga. Amu ia le nei au au na. O mai lava le vala au alona matai, ai o lo whapea lava o na whai. E leo tā ua, e le tātou tusi whaitau, se whātua tua al whawhine lea mai neina, na oti lana tama. Ai o i wa tātou i loa ai, le alofa muti vale o le atua. Mai le ai lava se mea tasi. Na te whātea e se ina mai tātou. I le alofa o le atua. O lo ia Jesu Keriso. Ma o le upumoni lina. So se tasi ua o foina atu mo Jesu Keriso. E uina oti. Ai ola lava ia. Hena ia feta lai manino iai. O au nei o le toi tu ma le ola. O le wha tua mai ia te a Jesu Keriso. E uina oti. Ai ola lava ia. Ma o se taunu ngā sili o na ofo fongia lea na iu I nei solo e lua, solo te tele nei e lua, I lea ai nei. Pai mai ua milo whaatasi tangata uma. I la tau na o mai le solo a Yesu. Mai na o mai le solo le maliu. Pai mai ua o le matau ia te I la tau uma. Ua la tau vivi le atua. Ua suia le loi fafonga malingi na o atu malatou I le ata. Ua suia le awe na o atu malatou I le alanga fia. Le ao pongi sa wha pulo wina ai. Le tina matangata o naina. Ua suia nei le tae ao manino ma le langi matafi. Ua suia le wha noa I le oli. Talu ai ua wha umatia Yesu Keriso. Le maa losi o le oti ma le tunga mau. Pei lava o na ia feta lai. Wa o sau ina ia o tau maua le ola. O le ola lava lea e wha mau. O le mea lea, mea ati ma le whanau. Ma a inga. Lea ua feta lai lea li. Aua tau te whetā ngisi. Don't cry. Amen. Ia. Ai lei whai ua mausuina le tātou pese muli. Ia, e toi momoli atu lava le angang whawhtai. O lea ua tātou o mai le whai unga le tātou sauninga. Ia, manai. O isi family service e ovai le ono I tū la. O le family service o le tātou tama. Malo. Whawhtai mō mōli mā. Whawhtai le on sai o tātou. O ia mal mamalu o au fia nei lau whai ngā luenga. Whawhtai tele lava, malo lava mole. On sa ia ole. Whamoe moe ole nei pō. Ia, o tātou e kalesia. Ranui, ia, e toi lotu mai tātou tamata e au. I le tūlais fulmaltasi. Ia, vai pun tātou malolo, ai toi tāpena mai mo lot. Tārs fultasi. Ia, mata fo tātou. Lotu, ona toi sauninga. Ia o le tūlais fulu maai. Se fulu maai. Ia, ona pau ia o asi silanga. Mai a, rapi. Oi, ia o te iloa nai lava le malos. Ia sei tilo ama tātou matamata I sina vaenga lea. Ia, pa umalo lea tātou wolo e inu tātou ti. Sorry.
the same village. When we, friend like play, and we meet there. So Matt, I love it, and make friend Matt. And ask how many girlfriends he got. They should be when he just met. Prophets
Oh. Toi titi a misi ata o stoina. A tai lava mo toi whamanatu mai o ata. Ai whawhetai foi wau toi lo atu ai. A pea ue le tau mawhapia te a kono lau au lotu. Le maua mai ata. Ia sola? Ah, ia. Watala o asola. Ia, e tarusia e leo toe taun fia e la tau na mea o ona nei vai tai. Tau fi maulo polo kalame le na wa tu fatu. E toi whao ngā foi mo le tātou sauninga i le aso na fua. Ia, nā wa silsila ia le tātou polo kalame. E nā o le lua lava mo le mau o le funeral service. Nā o le mo le mau o le tina ia mea ati. Ma le mo le mau o le whaiwhea au. Ia o nā. E lau tātou sauninga. O le pese whaafitai le atua. Mo le soifua o le tātou tamā. Iwa sifuruma le lua, le viinga o le atua le awhai ua le tātou sauninga. Yeah.
Ia e leo mangaku. Se taimi o ngā maguaku leo so ko maku palapala. Iskasi o ngā aina lua. A o kula ia. Ke bala waku mal whalolo leo suma le kai. E whapea fōi a le pai o leo whenga wenga. E mai se fōi leo suma le koinga. Ma te tua mai se pai o leo whenga wenga. I o aina lua. Io Samoa Rofa, fai da ko papuka ni po. A mai
Okay.
O le tatalo pamanuia. O mai nei la mātou tāpua inga. Sa mātou whaalongo ai ma le totoa i le tele o mea lofa malo ta mau a inga. Ma tā leni sa e tu ina i lau au auna. Ma o se wha manatu fo ia tala. Ma ia moli maualo mātou ta maa. Ia i mātou o ola pea. Ia vea lo mātou whalongolongo, e whai malui i lo mātou fo i ola whale whātua tua. I nāo atu ia o tau ma le while mu, ma ia iai atu o tau uma le manuia o le atua le tamā. Le alo ma le anganga pa ia, nei ma aso uma lava. Amen. Ia, sei tātou tutulai mai pēr, sei moli atu le sālu tātou tamā. Ia ona tātou tū muli atu ai lea. Tū mai ia. Volta la pila nga faya o faya malo Malo le on sa. Mai. Malo. Tato mapui e. Ako weba.